Panel. Sharif, Angel will be back. We're going to go over to La Kahunas.
Take care, guys.
Yep.
Hey.
La Kahunas. I like that. Even use like the masculine there for anyone that doesn't speak French, which is probably everybody watching this show. I'll sum it up like this. Down into the red. No, the market's red.
Yeah, no. The question is, where's the bid at?
Where is the bid? Where's the beef, Obi?
Because I tried to revert. I thought I had the reversion, but then I got reverted.
Ooh.
So, I stopped out.
The sellers are not introverted today as well. They are.
Also, I do think it's safe to say that there are more sellers than there are buyers today, Neil.
Funny feeling that was true, Obi. I had a funny feeling that was true, and now we know it's
the end of the week.
No.
I'm here all week. For another.
Literally the end of the week. That's what I love to hear. Don't worry about it. We're all about to get this new coronavirus that apparently is coming, so you might be here next week too.
Oh boy.
Yeah, what's up with it? First of all, we're not doing. Look, I know that story. You sent that to like Adara. I looked it up on Twitter. I'm like, no, we're not doing this again, and we're not doing it again. Okay? No, it's not happening. I don't care. No, we're not going through it again. I'm just done with it. It's not gonna happen. I'm just being real. I'm not trying to go through that nonsense again. Oh yeah, well, I'll take a fill, but I have one position. We had some shorts. I regret to inform everybody that
oh boy.
I had a little to no stick-to-itiveness in the Palantir short the last time we were in it, and Palantir is down 3% and doing, I don't want to say Palantir things, but like right now it's Palantir things, which is going to the downside. It never broke that 120. I'm in one thing, and it was, actually Obi and I were just talking about this. The $25 level on Intel, for whatever reason, has been a little bit of a buy zone. So when I saw this bottoming tail candle here on Intel, I kind of went into the long. And then I believe I got a little bit of a gift from that AMD headline. Like it was very slowly bouncing, and then there was that headline on AMD, and then it spiked into 25. If it loses 25 even, I'm out. I think at this point, it's Friday afternoon. The market is bleeding. I'm not a huge fan of Friday. Like it's some look at the red here. Like is the ES chart. I like some scalp trades where maybe you can get in and out or find something that's not breaking lows or like a little bit of relative strength and maybe take your shots. But unless I can find something reverting short, I really don't want to be shorting lows. I think there's a better way to execute. So I think this afternoon is going to be a little bit of trying to get some snipers type fills and not go green to red in the day. ESAT just said, ANET, please.
Okay.
Arista. There's so many things which had been doing well that are doing this. ANET. Is ANET in the chat? Yeah. Well, yeah, I did see ANET in the chat.
As Sharif likes to say, but
like every chart's gonna look like this. I don't know what more there is to say, but if you can find things that have not broken lows, like what do? It just recently broke the low. It was a consolidation after earnings. It hadn't been a bad stock necessarily on the daily, but what are you gonna do? This is exactly, like look at this 15-minute chart. Look at that 15-minute chart, and look at the 15-minute chart of, say, the ES that I just put up. One bounce, roll over. One bounce, roll over. That's what we're dealing with. What I want to try to find are stocks that look different from the futures, so I can maybe have some kind of an edge. Like something that's just not locking, like rank and file following directly with the ES or the NASDAQ. And if you get that, then I think there might be some trading opportunities, but most things are going to look exactly like this.
Oh, I think that's very fair. I'm kind of again, like I said, I tried a couple shots here on Google. We can kind of talk about that at an attempt at reversion. I was looking across the board here, and I was just like, okay, what's selling off the most? Which one is relatively strong, I guess, and in line with the market? And I looked at the 15-minute chart on Google, and I was just like, all right, well, that's an aggressive selling, and if and when that selling kind of stops, I do want to participate And I did participate when I did think that the selling did stop. And the selling did stop for a little bit here on the pullback above, I think it was in the 60s or 70s, 180, 60s, 180, 70s were the low. And I think my risk was at 180.69. Nice. So it did rebid past that 181, got into the 40s, and I was like, all right, well, this should go. I'm looking for this to go. This is the first bid since the open that Google is catching. So I'm looking for it to at least retrace to like 181 halves, 182s, and it gives me some of that, but then it just starts to just curl and fall on top of itself once again, and the market tailwind definitely doesn't help. And I think we have some news from a new potential COVID strain or something like that. Moderna starts doing some crazy stuff on that as well. Market continues to bleed out even harder. I don't know if that's the reason for the selling, but like I said before, there are definitely a lot more sellers than there are buyers. I'm sure you can definitely see that, but that didn't really work out. Going sideways now on top of 180 though could be interesting. The highest volume candle currently on Google is the candle that made the low. So I got eyes on, but nothing too crazy yet. Let us know in the chat what you guys have been doing while we go through this rundown.
Before we go to the rundown, there's a good question there that can be summed up by Safe in our chat. By the way, if you want to be in the chat, it's a subs only chat, so ask us questions, engage with our viewers, hit that like, hit the subscribe, but most importantly, share and hit the sub. Can you explain, please, why a stock takes a lot of time to go up and then goes down in way less time most of the time? It's a fantastic question. There's a saying, and I heard it my very first day of training. The stock market goes up like an escalator and down like an elevator.
Oh, yeah.
It usually comes... Nowadays, it has a little bit more to do with algos and market making. So what'll happen is, oftentimes when the market's like going down or tanking, the algos just aren't going to make the bid. Whereas when it's going up, you typically always have some kind of a market for offers unless you have a squeeze. So like, I don't know, somewhere it used to be like a small percentage, but something like 40 or 50% of like all the actual like market making liquidity is like the type of algo base that likes to drop really quickly in times like this. So a lot of that's the reason for it, but the real usual reason is just panic, right? Like when people are panicking, they lift their bids and it's like panic selling, and buying is a little more granular and that kind of a thing. But it has so much to do nowadays with algo trading and who actually is bothering to make the bids. The plunge protection team doesn't show up every day, which is a real thing. But we are ready to talk about the symbols that you would like to hear, which I feel like we're going to be saying a lot of, and this lost a bid, and this is breaking down, and should have held on to that short. And
oh yeah, Unity.
Unity. What up, Sharif?
Welcome, everyone, to the Afternoon Rundown, the show where you decide what we talk about every afternoon. The big boys locked and loaded, ready to look at the tickers as decided by you, but the only way to get your tickers on there. Join us during the How to Trade show during the midday and get into that chat and vote for your favorite tickers. But you got to be a subscriber in order to participate in the chat. So make sure you are liking, subscribing, and sharing, guys. Yeah, this is a look at the triple Q. So reflecting the NQ here, the NQ March contract decidedly red today. We lost 22,000 on that level. We're down 1 3/4%. Likewise with the ES, 1.5%. The Dow kind of in between there, 1 2/3. And then the worst of them all, small cap traders, 2.7% is the Russell 2000 in negative territory. So all four major averages decidedly red. This is SMCI, no different here, guys. We're down about 3.5%. There's no specific catalyst today on SMCI, but we are all waiting for that February 25th deadline, the day that the NASDAQ gave them to file their reports from last year, guys.
That's Tuesday. So the deadline's coming in right quick. I can tell you that much. It's only a matter of time. I think it's going to be an event as far as predicting what will happen and what it will look like. We got the preliminary numbers from them, which wasn't their report. It wasn't great, but I think at the time it was more along the lines of they gave you something, and so it was looking strong. But the last couple of sessions, it's been the last couple of sessions in the afternoon. But like this move here was like the Palantir move. So I don't know how much you want to roll over here because of Palantir. So it's really just the last 2 days. We've been running out of steam when you get to the 60 level. I had an on-trend short, which sometimes you do too many reversion trades and then you bungle the on-trend one, which I need to be getting into. And I did that earlier, like in the day. Like I was shorting it off like that 60 area and kind of let myself get wicked out when it didn't really break the trend line on the 15 minutes. So I'm going to not sneeze here. And then I'm going to look for the short back into this on SMCI, at least until it decides, you know, it wants to break that trend. As long as it holds, I think the play is maybe to stay on the trend line, not short any bottoms. And as I said, I am not reloading this Intel. I had it at 25 like an hour ago or like 50 minutes ago or so, but no reload. I just kind of hung on to the last 20% to see if we could get the break back higher and stopped it out at break even. So I'm not going to be long reloading anything off of any bottoms or double bottoms. If you're not making higher lows and you're not breaking trends, I don't need to be long.
Yeah, I think that the SMCI here, the action on the day is we kind of talked about missed trades there, Neil. And yesterday I had this short. I don't know if you remember off of the 62.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, all right, well, observed a bit of supply in that area. Guess where supply comes in off of the open today? That same 62 and change right off of the open, and we've just been bleeding right back into yesterday's range low as well. I have a bit of an anchored here that's pinned to last Wednesday, that aggressive selling that we got. Again, in my opinion, that is a bit of if you don't want to call it a catalyst kind of event or whatever, it's an event for me. It has volume and a strong action there, and the markets did move off of that. So anyways, that coming in, we saw how it respected yesterday. That was very nice, but coming in today, a little bit, it's respecting it a little bit more loosely. The initial opening range low did bounce off of that level there. $60 was definitely an interesting level here. It makes sense why the rundown title is SMCI below 60. Look at this held offer, Neil, yesterday. This is on a 3-minute chart. We did not, could not, and would not print above that $60 mark. 60 was being printed. 60.01s? No way. So that 60 was definitely a bit of a key level for me coming into today. And we watched it. We didn't really respect it that much, but eventually we do get below it and below the morning session low as well. And currently trading at or testing near day lows here on SMCI. Still got a bit of ways to go if we're to approach yesterday's range low there. That's sitting at 54.30, currently trading at 57s. But with the way SMCI and the volatility that it's been having over the past couple of days, more than within range for what it can do, especially on a Friday with only about less than 2 hours left to go in the trading day, Neil. So SMCI, a bit of a downtrend. It is definitely below that 60 as of right now.
Coinbase popped up aggressively in the pre-market. There was decidedly green. Then we gave back everything as the market all turned red. In the morning, we got word from the Wall Street Journal, the report that Coinbase says the SEC intends to drop the lawsuit against the crypto exchange. Brian Armstrong took to Twitter, went on CNBC as well, called the SEC's tactics mafia-like, called their enforcement bogus without penalties, $0, zero fees, zero anything else. It looks like they're getting off here, and it's going to be just a clean break, guys, but still down 5.25%.
Yeah, early on there was some exuberance over this. It just didn't last. It's as simple as that. Like by the time you got to the open, like all of the support levels that were looking interesting were gone. So it would never really. And you know what? This is one of the good things about the market, I find, is that you can have something which is doing like a typical gap up, and then you can look for, technical longs, all that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, let's play some continuation if it can hold any key levels. And it can just never be a long, and then you don't have to have it. So you can have a bias to long side and just never be involved in this. Now, I wasn't thinking short in Coinbase either. I had reserved that a little bit more for, like PLTR, Palantir off the open, PLTR. But the thing I think a lot of people are probably thinking in days like this, okay, well, like what's the difference between stocks that, and everyone has their own opinion, how they do things, you want to dip buy and the ones that you don't. Like this would be an example, Coinbase would be an example. When I look at this off the 200 period moving average, which is going to get to, it looks like, and I don't like it the way I would say be interested in maybe buying Alphabet off the 200 period moving average. Why? Because it hasn't respected it all that much. You know, it just hasn't mattered a ton. Like the 50, it'll matter here, and then it won't matter there, and the 200 will matter here, and a little bit there, but it hasn't been as big of a deal. So I'd care more about where the liquidity has come back into the stock and where it's looked good. So you know that there was at least a lot of action in around 170. It feels like if we're not going to hold 100K and if we're going to be dancing around doing nothing sideways in Bitcoin, and while that happens, other crypto names are going to have good news and go bad, then you should be waiting a little bit more patiently for some buys on coin. I know that's saying a lot because if it gets down to 170, you've actually been cut in half. But if you're not breaking the trend, and it's not respecting the moving averages, I don't think you have to rush into the dip buy. It's a little more speculative too. Like, I don't dislike Coinbase. I do have some in my personal account, but that's not one of the names I'm looking to buy at this level.
Yeah, I think a bit of continuation happening today, right? We do attempt to pick right up in the pre-market again with some of that SEC stepping off their case kind of news, but we've been selling off since earnings, right? And in the morning session, we kind of talk about how we've broken that downtrend in the pre-market session. This is a 3-hour chart here. But yeah, we did break that with an aggressive bid, but the selling kind of just came right back in. I think we were talking about seeing if Coinbase can come into this prior Tuesday level here, a bit of a consolidation high there underneath that 280, 279 level. We kind of discussed that during the morning session to see if Coinbase could come back up into here, will this area continue to act as a little bit of resistance? That didn't really happen. Sellers come in right off of the open, and it's been very, very directional here. Again, on the 15-minute chart, since the open, Neil, since the open, on the 15-minute chart, we have had 1, 2, 3, and 4 green candles. 4 green candles out of, if I can count them all, that's 19 bars. So 4 out of 19 candles have been green, and 2 of them pretty much dojis. So a little bit of selling going on here. Is it sell the news? I have no idea. But what it's showing me is that all we're doing is more of the same since earnings. Sellers are definitely in charge on this ticker.
That's a look at KWeb right now, guys. Most of these Chinese ADRs decidedly green on the day. A bit of a small green spot there in the market. Looks as if, a lot of new money flowing in to these ADRs after the meeting on the weekend with Xi Jinping and business leaders in China. Separately, Alibaba having its own headline as well, of course, with its association with Apple, as well as its move into AI in China. And that caused multiple firms today to raise their prices on Alibaba, guys, up about 5%.
Yeah, and they're doing pretty well. And relatively speaking, I think, Bob up that 5, not really holding VWAP, but Daniel, just to answer this question here from Daniel, I said, I'm not looking to buy any coin. The answer to this is S&P. So are you thinking to buy anything for the long term as of today's sell-off? When there's days like this, if I haven't DCA'd that month or quarter, put any money that I put to work, if I have any cash, which I do, I pick the index. And sometimes I'll rotate which index it is, but I believe in a core position in the index, which, because I kind of go between the others, like I'll have S&P, I'll have NASDAQ as well, and I tend to just do that. If there isn't a stock that I'm looking to get at a key level, I'll just be like, whatever, I don't even care, and I'm just picking up on a down day like today, I'll just pick up some S&P, or I'll pick up some QQQ. So hopefully that answers your question. A lot of times, like, what's the stock to buy? And I don't think there's always it doesn't have to be an obvious answer, but if I want to put something to work and I don't have an obvious answer, I just keep it simple. Every now and then you can go with like a sector if you really like it. So Alibaba was the one I decided to trade today. It never did when we gapped up, I actually remember saying, when we gap up on Alibaba, it's that dip at the open that you want to get. And I really thought it was going to happen. It didn't. So there was no entry. I thought usually it's like, let's break the low. Let's get something out in front of 139. I wanted to buy out, this is 38, but I wanted to buy somewhere in that void, and it just didn't happen. So it was a gap up that, it kind of rejected the high, but then didn't give us any really good dip buys. So I just played an on-trend trade and then didn't reverse the trend. Short, which I know people were yelling, you should short. And I'm like, it's above VWAP. I don't do a trend reversion that far from the high, above VWAP. It's just, I've never really looked at that trade, and then I watched it work perfectly. So maybe that's something I'll look at doing in the future. I just have never really done it before. I played it off VWAP for some scalp trades, but now you're looking a little bit weak. There are a couple of other names worth looking at here. JD, which is decidedly worse right now. It's still up 2%, but what stands out about JD should be obvious on this daily chart. You see Baba's at fresh highs. JD has somebody holding it. Like, it just can't seem to break away from this 42 area. So when I see that, and it's not red on the day yet, like it's holding higher lows in this move, the China trade continues here. Feel like next week could be a little something for JD. We usually trade Baba, but it's just kind of hanging around this level. And if we break away from the 42, I think we'll want to be involved as day traders if this one starts to go. So it's just worth noting. Ideally, it would do better than it is this afternoon and, you know, hold that 43 area. And then you could really think about that on Monday morning. But for now, it's just on the radar. Usually just trade Baba, but this one possibly next week. Of course, I'll likely have just jinxed it, and it'll be at like 38 or something on Monday.
Yeah, no, I like that. That's one of the names that's looking distinctly different from the rest of the names here. And right away, I'm like, okay, China. First thing I'm going to pull up is the Hang Seng futures, right? Yeah. People are asking, oh, why some of these Chinese tickers keep on gapping up day after day? Well, look no further. You have to look at the Chinese futures here, the Hang Seng index. Here, this is an hourly chart. Kind of back here, this was a strong bid that happened in September, and I even labeled it that was the stimmy bid. Again, China tickers kind of bidding up on their stimulus. We cracked that trend very aggressively. What a beautiful reversion that was. But take a look at this, guys. Since the middle of January, we've only been bidding up, a slow creep all the way up back into some of those prior highs right there. So this week, or this month even, we're kind of breaking past some of those prior highs from that stimmy bid. And it's been a slow, steady creep with steady volume as well going into this. So yeah, very strong push here on China. And again,
we just made another leg down, by the way.
You look at the monthly here as well, you can see that we're kind of curling up off of some of these prior lows here. Bigger picture, this has been a bit of an area where, again, strong pullbacks have been bid up from, and we're seeing a little bit more of the same here. So yeah, China stocks this year could definitely be on watch as this as the futures kind of chops within this range that it's been holding since about 2007, 2008. You can see that we've been in that range here. So China definitely not near its highs, but it's looking like it's trying to make its way up there. Let's see if we can get past that 24, 25 FAO on the Hang Seng in the coming weeks. What's going on, Neil?
So SMCI just lost a bid, dropped 57 to 56. Palantir just lost a bid. It actually managed to hold 101 temporarily, but it's tracking towards 100. I'd posit 100 didn't mean as much yesterday as, it didn't really mean that much yesterday. In the afternoon, it definitely held trend there, but I don't think it meant all that much. But a lot of things just lost a bid one more time. And before we go back up and talk some UNH, it's probably worth watching or at least keeping an eye on that MLGO. I know a lot of times people like MLGO, and a lot of people have typed it in the chat wrong. It's fine. I made that mistake too. But it's closing back in on the highs. I'm going to get rid of some of these trend lines. I'll do it in a sec. But it's closing back in on those highs. If you're looking for things to go long today, you might have to look at some kind of a small cap, like gapper or runner, like MLGO. I have shorted it once and was looking for sniper type trades to the short side, meaning I don't want to give it much room. I want to try to get in and just be right away, because I don't want to chase it up here. It has a history of pulling back. But let's talk about some UNH, because that's another one.
Oh boy,
that just be chilling.
It's off the lows a little bit, Neil, but look at that move down. That is ugly. That's an aggressive move down there. So yeah, in the pre-market, we got word that the Department of Justice apparently was launching an investigation into the company's Medicare billing practices. Should be noted the company did respond, calling those allegations bogus. Obviously not related to the stock, of course, but Luigi Mangione back in court today, and his supporters, well, they forked over about $500,000 to support him.
Huh?
Wow. Okay.
What?
All right. It says that's the headline. That's pretty wild. A little wild.
Yeah. Seriously? Okay. All right. Let's just talk about the stock. I'm not even.
Yes.
Because of. So UNH, I think Obi was just saying it. It was we're discussing amongst ourselves. That's insane. That's ridiculous. It's almost as if all the selling happened in the pre-market and there was just nothing left.
No more sellers.
What are you going to do? Like the worst it hit, it was at the 52-week low, which didn't break. You would have even heard me say, like, I don't know, like flat bottom break on this looks pretty juicy if it could have taken that bottom out, but it didn't, so there wasn't a trade for me in UNH. And then when the market was bleeding, it was just trending up. So it never really gave you an opportunity. It's not moving now either. It's not a stock. I've already said I'm no longer invested in it. I did that a while back, didn't really like the way things were looking and the practices, so I kind of got away from this name. But I don't see any reason to get exuberant about it just because it got a bid today. I think you got to let things settle down a bit. Give it a day or two, see how things settle, whether the veracity of this or that story came out, it's true, it's not. Let things settle down for a couple of days. For now, you've got a great level that it managed to hold. And if this is the low, it's had a history of bouncing back. I mean, the fundamentals, just in terms of how they do and their ability to generate revenue, are still pretty solid to a certain degree. So I think from that standpoint, it's okay. But I just don't want to be touching it, and I don't see a day trade with it either. Like there would be a reversion trade, but then if you were going to do a reversion trade, now I'm going to talk myself into this one. Obi.
Yes.
Yeah. No, there actually might be a trade here, because oftentimes if you have a day-long trend, that tight of a consolidation with a day-long trend, it's probably worth a break. I don't need to have Intel up. I can put UNH up and just track this. Again, it has to break the trend, but there might be something here. But when the market's tanking, if you can find a reversion to the way the market's going, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, I think, again, I had it on watch this morning. Again, strong catalyst when you get a DOJ investigation like that. I think, what was the ticker that we saw that on? Was that AVGO? I think we saw it on, or SMCI. I forget. It was something that came in right off of the open there. Was it CrowdStrike? Okay.
Yeah, it was
something like that. I think. Yeah, no, I have to check that out. I remember I forget which ticker it was, but I was I went to I was in a trip to Miami while that sell-off happened. But again, similar kind of news. So I was like, all right, well, I'm going to look for the continuation coming in off of the open there. Even if it bids up about 50%, I'm going to look for that continuation to the downside. Again, why? Because we saw some tickers over the past couple of days kind of gap down, whether it was on earnings, on news, or whatever, revert some of the move and then continue the move. So I was looking for a little bit of that. Didn't really happen. So I stayed relatively away from it here on UNH. But yeah. Like I was telling Neil before, maybe all of the selling is done, right? That was an aggressive sell off of that news in the pre-market session. It did ridiculous amounts of relative volume, pushing almost 250 times by the time the 7 a.m. and 8 a.m. volume starts to roll in, and expanding relative volume until about 9 o'clock, where it starts to kind of dwindle down there, and then it finally does catch a little bit of a move, a strong bid right off of the open there, consolidation on top of VWAP since then, as we just saw, and now we're consolidating above the opening range high, above the prior day's high right here. You can see that's pretty strong as well. So maybe this is set for a reversion of the whole move. But yeah, Neil pointed out that bit of a trend on this ticker, and we're kind of creeping into that right here as well. So where will UNH go? No idea, but definitely the sellers are not on this ticker, are not dominating on this ticker, that's for sure.
Yet.
Yeah.
It ain't over. I'm just saying, like, if we keep this up, at some point everything gets dragged down. One more to go, and look, we did get a super chat. I believe it was Sarjeet. I saw it. We'll get to TTD after we talk a little Rivian. I saw the super chat. We will get to it.
After the bell yesterday, guys. So they beat on the top and bottom line with respect to the current quarter, but it was really the future outlook here that kind of sent everything down off the lows, still down about 4%, give or take. Here's what we're looking at, guys. They're looking at delivering about 46,000 to 51,000 vehicles. That'll be a drop from what they delivered last year in 2024. The reason for that is specific, that they're looking to shut down their plant in the second half of this year to retool, because next year in early 26, we expect the R2, a more produced platform to be ready. CapEx as well, they're spending a bit more, obviously, with that retooling coming in. Last year, they spent $1.4 billion. They're looking at 1.6 to 1.7. They were able to shore up costs, though, so they lost about $2.7 billion last year. They're looking at spending about, or their adjusted loss, about 1.7 to 1.9, guys, and we're definitely going to keep an eye on tariffs to see if it affects any of their business.
Oh, yeah. Like, you're right. So, Shreve's so correct, and I know Randy was talking about it too. Like, it's not like it was that bad. And we know this, and the deliveries weren't necessarily what you wanted it to be. But it's actually a strong stock today. And I know it's down 4%, and I was short it here, but mostly it's been the short into the 1320, which the last one stunk. Like, we've been shorting it into VWAP a few times. We had a really good one early, and we had a decent one into VWAP, and then a couple of tight stops at the top. Don't sneeze. But overall, it's kind of strong today. So while it's been working, if you've been shorting the highs or shorting on the way down some of the lower highs, you can pick your spots on it. It's still kind of trending up. And I think if we catch a bid here this afternoon, like this off VWAP for Rivian looks pretty good. And I got to remind everybody, regardless of what we think about the report or what anybody thinks about the stock, somebody's buying it in the 12-quarter range. It's just holding the bid around here. That's where the pre-market low held this bottom today. It's been holding it for the whole month or for the whole year effectively. So you just got to respect it. Now, yeah, you can short the top on moves like this when stocks trend up, or you can recognize it's stronger than the market, and as long as it holds VWAP, maybe this one's a long. It's certainly possible. So like Rivian, I don't think I want to short it this afternoon. As far as I'm concerned, like, it was doing well on it, then bungled the last one by getting wicked out, literally top wick, and I was short it most of the day. But it's holding VWAP. There has been no follow through when the market is following through to the downside. The other name that usually we'll talk about is Tesla. I didn't really have any opportunities on Tesla. It was more of an inside. Then when it finally broke down, we were shorting Palantir at the time. And I'll let Obi talk Rivian, and we will get to TTD.
Yeah, no, again, one of the tickers on watch for me as well, and I was looking for that continuation because we saw in the pre-market some strong selling coming in off of going into the open, but we never really ended up breaking that pre-market low. We bid up off of the open, and we've been pretty much trading within this opening range, pretty much a range trade here, a bit of a double bottom at this 1250. We were talking about that 1250 mark as well on a higher time frame. Let's go up to, let's say, we'll go up to a 3-hour right here and take a look at that. Yeah, lots of anchors on this, but let's take those off right now. But yeah, right here, that 1250, 1230s. I mean, I can pull them back on. You can see, yeah, sure, price holds anchored pretty well depending on where those anchors are coming from. Again, one of those anchors coming in from that strong quadunk in last February of 2024, literally almost a year ago there. But yeah, coming into some of these levels here from before, and we do catch a bit off of that, off of some of those prices in the pre-market, off of the open as well, but pretty much a chop around VWAP here, a bit of an orbit. But we're reclaiming. We're on top of VWAP now. Let's see how we close. But other than that, off of earnings, a little bit of a lackluster action today. No real direction, but you could look at this as relative strength as well, right, Neil? Because the whole market is selling off, but Rivian is holding its own, holding its VWAP, and consolidating sideways, while the rest of everything else bleeds. So,
I think you can
say relative strength. You'd call that relative strength.
100%. I think it's so important to distinguish between. No, we got a super chat about the trade desk. I'll show the super chat as well. But no, you have to really distinguish between what the stock has done from the prior close and then what the stock is doing on the day. So from the prior close, and Rivian is weak, but what the stock is doing today, regardless of any good short areas, has been pretty strong. So Sargil or Sarhill? I don't know which one. So I'll say Sarhill. TTD, and then Roger wants us to look at CMG. Been shorting Chipotle. I can't imagine any short that hasn't been good today. I haven't looked at CMG, but what I can tell you about the trade desk is despite actually, well, okay, it's been on a good upward trend, but on a weekly chart, oh, there we go. On a weekly chart, it just broke the 200 on a weekly, and it's like it's not looking very good at all. Like this is exactly the kind of situation where it was respecting this to the high, and it's been pretty good. And you got the double bottom here at like 40. This is generally the type of I don't want to be sitting catching that falling knife. It's not at a key level. It's losing a major moving average. It's got some really obvious areas that I think if you like it, you want to be buying it. But it's just not there. It's a major trend break as well with a huge flat bottom. Stocks like this is like, if this is what I was considering buying, I'd just throw the money into the queues. I needed to put the money somewhere. But yeah, for the day trade on the trade desk, and I don't know what to tell you. There's not a lot of great setups shorting at levels like this. So I think if you can find generally what can work is a scalp trade, not that I think this is a scalp stock, it probably isn't, would be shorting off of the trend line, and then if it kind of closes above it, just play it the other direction. Something along those lines could work. And then Chipotle, I like Chipotle. It's delicious. Chipotle is delicious, no questions asked. But much like...
Yeah, that's...
Well, you like Chipotle too?
No, I'm looking at the trade desk there. I'm like, that's a pretty weak leg on the desk.
It's not good.
Kind of, it might be a little wobbly there. The longs might be getting a little unstable there, putting their longs on the desk there. So that's all. This
one's not. Chipotle's a little different. It's a little pricey. You know, it still trades at a pretty gigantic premium. That said, it does look like it's coming a little bit closer to an area, like you had a resistance to support to the 200 period if it breaks 48. Like you're maybe like a 10% move down from somewhere that I would think it would be interesting to buy that one. It has performed so well. Whoa, that just caught a heck of a bid.
Whoa.
So the Trump administration to replace the acting ICE director, that has nothing to do with... Well, I mean, Chipotle just caught a random bounce here. Right? It is what it is. But that was the headline I just heard. So we'll see what happens next. I did take the reversion on UNH, as you will see when I actually load it up. Oh, and my trend line I can redraw. So it broke trend, and we'll see if it can hold said top. So right now we're in when it broke and closed underneath the trend line. It's like loosely 470 is the top. VWAP sits at like 58. Some support I think theoretically at 60 and then 65 as well. So I mean, the market's not doing anything with that ICE headline, so I don't think it's that big of a deal. But yeah, the head of ICE apparently going to be replaced.
Okay.
For what it's worth. For what it's worth. I just heard that over the wire. I don't think that actually moves the market.
Yeah, I don't. Nothing comes to mind right away. But leave it in the chat if you guys have any trade ideas, maybe branching off of that new change here. But yeah, I'm doing some scans here. Markets continuing to free fall to the downside. Wow. You know what might be driving this, Neil? And talk about a reversion and something that's coming back.
Apple?
To its place. Exactly, Apple. Apple's coming right back in. So we were talking about how, oh, Apple's so strong. Apple's the strongest out of the bunch. Apple is bidding up while the rest of the market is selling off. And look at what happens on the trend break on Apple. Sure, I don't know that the selling's going to come in that aggressively, but it does come in on a bit of a trend break that's been happening on top of VWAP here and coming right back into some of these opening range low prices here. You can see we consolidated at these prices underneath VWAP for over about 45 minutes between, what is this, 246s to 245 half, so about a 50 penny consolidation there on Apple, and we just ran right into it here on this strong selling that's been coming in since, what's the timestamp on this right here? Selling kind of coming in 215, getting a little bit more accelerated, but selling initially coming in a lot more aggressively in and around that 1 o'clock mark, and yeah, that has some confluence with that new COVID news that's coming in potentially from China. So we'll see what happens. I was telling Neil, I was like, remember last time when we had the first COVID, how the markets reacted, and today we're selling off aggressively as well. So I don't know if that's the reasoning why. And to be honest, I like, sure, maybe that's the reason why. But at the end of the day, my question as a trader becomes, what kind of price action can I capitalize on? And honestly, like we've been talking about like trend trading being one of my not so strong suits, but days like this really kind of make me think about that. It's like, all right, well, how do I get involved with the trend? How do I take the continuation trades? How do I take the trend trades? Does it make sense punching into the bottoms of things, or do I wait for any sort of pop to get short into if I am looking for an all-day trend? And when it comes and hits the whole market like this, like literally I have every single Mag 7 up here, and even Apple was the one that was looking distinctly different. Now that's coming back into its place as well. And yeah, so I'm just kind of just observing to see what's distinctly different. CELH still holding on to its anchored, so that's relatively strong. Meta is about to hit a fresh low as well. And yeah, we were talking about XLF, some of the bank stocks as well. We saw some strong moves on banks yesterday, and coming into today. Another selling, more selling, another sell event, or whatever you want to call it. Maybe not even an event, but continuation. We're seeing continuation of yesterday's move coming into some of these banks, and not only just banks, pretty much across the board. So that begs me to question what the map is looking like. So I'm going to pull up the market map real quick right here. We just pull it up on our friend FinViz right here. Take out some of these ads, but yeah, take a look at this right here. Pretty much everything is pretty red except for healthcare, Neil. All right, so maybe if we're looking for longs, maybe not UNH. UNH is down to almost 6.65%.
It's the only one healthcare.
It's the only one, really. Sure. Lilly, J&J. Oh boy, okay, J&J. Maybe some staples.
J&J is extremely strong today.
Okay,
extremely strong.
So okay, if you're asking where the buyers are, clearly on J&J here. Yeah. J&J is getting bought up. Coke and Pepsi. Remember Pepsi? I was looking for continuation. Neil, remember Pepsi? I was like, oh boy.
Where's Pepsi?
Pepsi, look for continuation off of the open. I was a little distracted.
Boo.
Oh my God. Look at that.
God.
So it's like, oof, 149 coming back in. You can just take the opening range high break at that 151. We're trading 154s and change right now on Pepsi. So that was so funny. I gotta pull this back up right here. Yeah, right here. Morning trade plan. Obi's morning trade plan. The first idea on the watch list, Neil, was Pep continuation.
I can't and it's like nobody was looking at Pepsi except for you.
And I'm just like, there's so many things that can potentially happen, and
but what
I just
made
gotta
you
keep
not
an
like
eye.
it then?
Okay, so what made me not like it was I just judged the trade off of the action off of the open, right? I was watching this, and I saw this flush of that 150, and I saw us trading below VWAP, and I'm like, this is not what I'm looking for. If I'm looking for continuation, I want to see us trading above VWAP, maybe even consolidating above VWAP, and that did happen, but it happened after, when is this? After about 10:30, right? So after about 10:30, you revert the move. That's interesting. And then you kind of break the highs, continuation to the upside here on Pepsi as well. Now up over about, what is this, 3.46% it says. So yeah, very, very strong on Pepsi here. Philip Morris counts as a tobacco ticker? Really?
Sure.
Philip Morris?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought they did a lot more things. But
Obi, can I just,
yes,
just
what's up?
not to interrupt, but
Yes.
MLGO. I just drew this better. I'm going to get rid of all this nonsense. But if you look at MLGO since the down halt, this is MLGO since the down halt. it is just even the extreme dip. So watch what's like when this stock is going up, it's up, it drops like a rock, no halt, from $11.50 to $9, no halt, and it's bouncing loosely off this trend line. It did break it once. It now has a low that if it broke that low, it's breaking the trend and there's room to VWAP. But the other side of it is if it dips in here and bounces, if I see a candle like this again, I'm gonna try to get long back through this trend line. Like if it does this kind of a candle again. So I have MLGO up on another chart, or another level 2, I should say. And if I see that same kind of wick, I mean, we said earlier, if you're looking for a good long, you might have to go find a small capper that's running, and I don't see anything else that's doing what this stock is doing. Airy Pages, we do have locates on MLGO. That's what I forgot to do. I told Obi I was gonna keep tracking. I paid for locates today at Real Trading, so I can short this. But I was gonna track and just check to see if the price was changing, because sometimes an indicator might be when the price of locates like starts jumping exponentially, then you get a top, but they were exactly the same in the morning as they were when I paid for them, and when it broke 10, it was exactly the same. So I don't think they've gone up. But yeah, we have locates, Airy Pages. The great thing about Real Trading, one of the advantages here is almost 99 whatever percent of all equity in North America is easy to borrow for us. And then that 1% or whatever it might be, usually we can pay a small fee. Like I think it was something along the lines of 0.009 cents per share for MLGO. Like the hottest moving stock today was really, really cheap locates for us, which can be dangerous because that means like you could short anything you want. I took one trade, tight stop, but if I can see it hold the trend line with a wick, I'd probably take another shot at this. So that's going to be on my radar. The other thing worth watching here is Tesla is really, really getting, I mean, everything is getting pumped to the downside. Let me just get away from the E-signal chart for a second. I'm not saying we get there, but we're not that far away. You know, down at 320 was that prior low that we just bounced off of, and it looked so strong on that rebound. I'd like to think if we take one sort of disaster step down, then you start thinking plunge protection team levels. I'm joking about it, but I start thinking that, and that 320 could come into play for Tesla. For now, MLGO is still in the UNH. It broke trend. Here, I'll do this for you. It broke trend. We're in here, just above 66. And if it breaks the high, I'm out. So we're going to hang on to that one unless it breaks the high. And MLGO is going to be the one I'm watching here. Now something really good sets up. This is the one that's flying. It's trying to lit grab. I just redrew this, but I didn't hit save. That's the problem. I keep not hitting save after drawing these. It's like a force of habit. But yeah, it's got a trend since it broke down and halted. So I'm really more concerned with the new trend after the halt. And if it can hold on to that on a wick basis, I'd look for the punch long through. If it breaks that low, it's probably usually it's so fast, like this short, like you couldn't get it when it broke trend. But I would take a shot at it, but more likely I'll just be more ready if it busts back up through the upside. This one's definitely on one. The crazy thing about this, 465 million shares traded on MLGO.
Yeah, the thing is crazy. I mean, we haven't had
it's not a penny stock.
We haven't had a runner like that in a while, and whenever
on a notional basis,
whenever that happens, you see moves like that kind of trickle in the coming days. Everyone's trying to chase that 1,000% runner and try to look for it on other tickers, and that can definitely present opportunities for day traders such as ourselves. But yeah, I don't know. Well, I don't dabble as much in the smaller to mid caps, but absolutely crazy opportunities and range here on MLGO on the day today. So. Yeah, I mean, throw it up in the chat. What are you guys trading? Are you guys trading anything right now? Because I'm looking for a bid, and I can't find one. We kind of identified a couple of tickers that are bidding up, like Coke, Pepsi, J&J, Philip Morris, things like that. So have you guys been involved in those, or who's riding their short from the mornings? That's the real question.
I wish I was still I should still be in Palantir, but everybody out there, unlock the nuclear renaissance with Foremost Clean Energy, leveraging one of the biggest mega trends on the planet, and that is nuclear energy. Partnered with Denison Mines, with properties strategically located in the Athabasca Basin, known as the Saudi Arabia of uranium. This undervalued company is poised to capitalize on the exploding nuclear market and offers unparalleled growth potential. The future is nuclear. Foremost is your entry. On the NASDAQ under FMST and on the CSE under FAT. Love that one. Or go to foremostcleanenergy.com for details. You can scan the QR code below if you're interested as well. And partnered, as I said, with Denison Mines. That is also a publicly traded company. So shout out to Foremost and appreciate them. TX Trader still short BABA from 143.
Ooh,
that's nice. The one. Were you TX Trader? Were you one of the people that was in the chat this morning saying, Neil, you should reverse short. Neil, you should reverse short. There was at least 2 or 3 people when I was like, this is the trend. If it holds the trend, I'm going to go long back through and see if it can get to the high, and then I'm just going to trail it out underneath the trend line. And then everyone was like, you should short. And then I didn't short it when it broke the trend. But you said 143, that means you're shorting it at VWAP. I like VWAP for a short trade. I think if I saw something that I thought was weak and it was at VWAP, I'd be shorting it back in. But there's just nothing down there. Or sorry, there's nothing up there at VWAP to give you the chance. So you almost have to find like some different type of entries. Like look at that, like I get out of Intel and the same move, it actually did, it gives you 25 to 25, 25, and then it goes breaking 25 to go to 24, okay, not 75. There's only about 17 or 18 cents, but still, maybe there's some kind of a rollover happening there. But I just see all of these things trying to break a long trend to the upside on a Friday. Like you're about to get back to back. This could be the second time in the day the NASDAQ puts in back-to-back green candles on a 15-minute. That's about as bullish as it's been. If you get a third, suddenly something might have changed.
Yeah, I think I got some eyes on some of these strong tickers now. I'm just like, okay, so Pepsi and all of these other tickers have been running up. So maybe do we get a reversion going into the end of the day? Is the question here. But I am gonna keep an eye on them. Again, very very strong here on Pepsi. The market looking like it's trying to catch a little bit of a bounce here at least. So again, I'm trying to look. I saw a bunch of people mentioning in the chat. Adam DeLu saying, Obi, I have a long on the futures at the lows. Technicals are saying the trend is starting to be exhausted. SL break of the lows. Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, that's I kind of see that as well. Bit of first green candle on the prior 15-minute and the current 15-minute also catching a little bit of green as well. But looking at some of these Mag 7s here, some of them might be turning. I guess Apple's turning right here. Nvidia with a bit of a bounce. Meta, nothing really. Tesla, oh boy, Tesla, okay. I can understand why Tesla is bouncing where it is, but Alphabet, nothing really. Wow, of course, the only one that I did try to revert, Neil, is continuing to make some fresh lows while this market attempts a bit of a bounce here.
Alphabet's unusually weak.
Yeah, it was already showing us that in the morning, right?
You know what?
Yeah.
I don't know. Alphabet wasn't something you guys wanted to talk about, but this is one where sometimes you can be up on a stock, but you can be incredibly unhappy with your trading in it. And that describes Alphabet for me today. Like I've picked the right spots on Alphabet to get long. Like it was a decent bounce every time I got in. However, if you really look at this from any objective standpoint and not just did you win on the trades, look at where I'm getting out. Okay, that's not a good out. In terms of, I'm telling you, they'd be shorts. That's a short, that's a short, that's a short, that's a short. Maybe not there, but that's a short. Okay, that's definitely not a short, but then the same level as a short. If all of your exits on longs are shorts that are, generally speaking, much, much better, then I don't think you were successful that day regardless of what your P&L might say on that stock. But yeah, Google is a name that's been respecting the 200 period moving average. So yeah, I like this in a little bit. I feel like it's going to get there. It did break it once back in September, but I feel like it doesn't look that bad. All right, Mogul doesn't want to. Sorry, I don't know why I call it Mogul. This feels like it should be. I like to give nicknames to stocks to make it more simple, but MLGO is no longer really testing that trend line. Like it was holding it and showing you trades off of this. All of a sudden, you're not getting the dips, but I feel like it could just be lulling me into a sense of like, I don't know, complacency, whatever it might be. So I'm just going to keep it up. This is the one that's going. It might dip in there really quickly like it did before, and then I would take a shot to get back into the long. Like, I don't want to buy it at 10.5, and then you've got to give it like $1.50 essentially to break that 9. I don't like that entry at all. We have to get a little bit closer to the 950. So just being patient with this MLGO, I kind of feel like it's going to give us a chance.
Yeah, I'm just again, I got into a little bit of a short here on PEP as it tries to break its trend. Again, I'm just taking a quick stab at it here. Market's catching a little bit of a bid as well, like I said before. But Pepsi, yeah, a little bit of a pullback here. Let's see how much longer it can bid up for. Maybe it continues to bid up into the close. I have no idea. It definitely did the same yesterday. Very, very strong close on the ticker there. So yeah, 154s started to slow down a little bit here. So just taking a quick stab at that. First 30-minute red candle since about 10 a.m. here, with only about 4 minutes left to close the 30-minute candle as well. So I wonder what the hourly looks like. Yeah, so the hourly is starting to get a little wicky there as well. But you know what? It could, again, like I said, I'm not too confident in this, but we'll see if it kind of works. It is a little bit of a break of trend, but sellers have to step in, right? That's the real question here. Are sellers going to step in here, or is the bid still dominant like it's been showing us all day there? So throw it up in the chat. Do you guys like to look for reversions as well? And if you guys do, where and what do you look for? I'm curious to know how other participants that have reversion as part of their playbook, like what do you guys like to look for? So if you guys do, throw it up in the chat. I would love to take a look at that there as well. And another ticker I have on watch is Unity. Unity here, again, still consolidating underneath this VWAP. That short was absolutely beautiful. I did not hold anything. I covered, like I said, remember, I covered 90% on this little pop off of 30. Didn't re-engage when the trade does come in, and oh boy, did we get much, much lower off of the $30 break there when it broke back through that 30, below VWAP, lower highs below VWAP, all the way down to 27.84s, which stays the current low of day here on Unity. This is a 1-minute chart. Let me clean that up a little bit with the 3 here. You can see strong selling off of that trend break, and then kind of slows down, but still continues to bleed off there for a 27.84 low there on Unity. I want to know what this does going into the close as well. We attempted to take a little bit of a pop back towards VWAP, but made a lower high instead. So another one to keep on watch. And I think that NVIDIA might be interesting here as well. NVIDIA got all the way back to 135s here, Neil. So yeah, absolutely crazy. It looked like we were pushing up into this 141 area. And I was like, earlier on today, I was like, oh boy, NVIDIA really seems to like this 137.
Oh, you said,
Excuse me, 137. And you can see that Wednesday we popped off of there. Yesterday we popped off of there. Today looked like we were going to move off of there once again, but doesn't really come in. And we can finally break that little bit of a range low there that's been happening on NVIDIA, trading a little bit lower. 135s currently trading. So, oh boy. All right. So here comes Pepsi. There are the sellers, and I'm covering a little bit underneath the half. So, oh boy, they're coming in real hot here, Neil. So let's see, where will we stop? I should probably know what the ATR of the ticker I am trading is. So I am going to do that right now on Pepsi, because if my suspicions are correct, we've already done, I got 291, so about 3 points. So I was going to say we've already done about over an ATR off of the lows. And yeah, 149s are the lows, 154 halves are the highs there on Pepsi. So yeah, definitely over a 1 ATR move. How much relative volume is it doing? That's the next question I'm going to be asking here. And it's been doing expanding relative volume here going into the close. So interesting stuff nonetheless. Here's some aggressive selling that is coming in here. Yeah, getting a little lucky with some of these trades. What's up?
You don't have the news in your ear, do you?
I do not have news in my ear.
I just got up to get a tea and came back, and like there was this weird volume spike on AMC, which I'm assuming is nothing, because it's right back to where it was before, but I don't know if anything hit the wire. Sometimes you get like random nonsense that'll happen in the afternoon, but yeah, I'm not seeing or hearing anything. All right, it could just be an absolute nothing burger. Like my first thought is, hey, maybe we'll get like a squeeze event and like one of these things will start going ham that isn't MLGO, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case, so it might have just been a little bit of nothing. What's usually NVDA's percentage move for earnings? Well, there is no, hey, it's real Noberts. What up? Brother from another mother. What you usually care about for NVIDIA or any earnings is like, what's the expectation, not necessarily what it did the last couple of times. I think the options market typically is pretty good at pricing what the expected volatility is. So that's what you want to usually check. I was going to get to a super chat here. One Stop F1, thank you. Thoughts on Intel for the session and going into next week?
Sorry.
Let me just pull up Intel for you.
I'm like staring down the tape here.
I know how you do. No, I wasn't passing over. I was trying to get I was getting Intel up for the super chat. My first thought is, as long as it holds the 200 period moving average, I'm not terribly concerned. I'm long this in the 21 range or something like that to double check the price in the long term. And as long as it holds the 200 period, that's exactly where the initial dip has now held a couple of days. So the fact that it's holding this consolidation, it's still kind of constructive for a move to fill in this gap. I think if we lose this, and because remember, every day that goes past and there isn't some kind of there is a deal happening, or you get some speculation on it and it runs, and if there's no confirmation, you bleed back in. If you hold the higher low like we're doing right now, good. If you don't, then momentum out, back to the low. That's what Intel's been doing. Hold the low, momentum comes out, it goes back to the low. So if you can hold this higher low, great. I think you're okay for now, but I stress the for now. A lot can change in the next hour, in the next week. So I wouldn't be long anything in a day trade until it actually tests these 24.5 bottoms or gives you a reversion trade. Like this one was pretty good through 25. It was like a false break of the 25 level. Come to my back to the chart. Like something like this. If I get pulls into 25 even, breaks trend with a bottoming tail candle, enter the long, that kind of a tight setup, no problem. But if I don't see that as a day trade, I'm staying away. I think you're almost like shorting every pop until proven otherwise today.
Yeah, so this Pepsi short, got a little lucky with it, Neil. Did come in nicely. It came in nicely. It's, again, obviously not quadunking into VWAP just yet. Oh, boy.
Oh wow!
So yeah, so it's coming in. I've been kind of taking some aggressive covers as soon as I got like 30, 40 pennies off of it. There again, pretty much a very strong trend here. Let's draw some trend lines. Let's get busy with this chart, as I like to do on some of my late nights with
you get busy with the charts
with some music and maybe a little drink.
Little Teddy Pendergrass.
Yeah. So.
You don't even know who that is.
No, I have no idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, a little bit of a trend there, maybe some trend here as well. Interesting stuff. So let's see if we can come back into this trend here. This was kind of dominating for a decent chunk of the day here. So let's see, that trend definitely accelerated into 154. So that's kind of what I'm looking at as of right now. But again, this could catch a bid anywhere. I don't know what the stock is going to do. I have no idea. But I do want to participate. There it is. There's another cover for me. Hello. Coming right back in right here, so only about 30% left. I'll ride this one. I'll shout out to Dara. She was talking about our conversations on prior bars. So I got in on the 3-minute. So the 3-minute is looking nice here, but because I've covered most of the position there, I'm just going to trail it on maybe a 5-minute. And the 15-minute definitely very, very strong for the reversion back down. I think, what was this, 153.80s? Oh, beautiful. I got in, okay, I wasn't even looking at the 15. I think I got in at a pretty decent price there on Pepsi. Bit of a trend break, or on the trend break there on Pepsi. You can see the 15-minute boom, 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 boom right there. I like the bit of tape that was happening as we kind of couldn't get through into 154s as well. But quick little scalp there. Most of it's sorry.
No, they're messing around.
What's that?
Once you get to this point, there is no going back. That's not what that's not. You were talking about your level 2 dreams.
Yeah.
Okay, first I did get into MLGO. I got a horrible price. My trading dream, and it's
Ramin's like cracking
the
up so
best
hard.
trading
She's like,
dream
this
is
is my
always-
creation. This is so hilarious.
it's good, but it's usually more. Don't you find it's level 2, not chart based? Oftentimes,
It's both, man.
okay.
It's both. I
find
get
I'm
dreams
looking at
'cause, like,
I find I'm looking at the level 2 when I dream about the market, and it's
Yeah.
always my favorite one, or the one that's like the best, is like it's like a flash crash. It's like a flash crash.
Chasing on the offer of the bid. That's
Where you see it, it's like you get the dream, and the flash crash is happening again because I sat there and watched it. Like I'll do whatever I want to do. What?
I do what I want.
No, but seriously, and then the bid's chasing it down, and you're like, this is it, and you're seeing it, and you're ready, and then so the offer's chasing down, and you see it release, and you get that long off the tape. Because I'll never forget just sitting there, and if you never, obviously no one had seen the flash crash, whatever, I hadn't seen it. So I just sat there, thankfully not in any longs that day.
Oh boy.
But man, like it's like if you ever see that again, like I know what I'm trying to do. I'll just pick one stock or the index, if I ever see the flash crash, one, and just stare it down and wait for that chase to stop, punch long, throw the stop at the low, and then just do that. That's the plan. As I said on MLGO, I got a not very good price. I had a suspicion that if it broke the trend, you weren't going to be able to get a good fill. So I did not get a punch when it broke down underneath like 950. It then bounced off 9, gave me an entry at like 928, but it's not a very good one. It then immediately held support where you would expect $8.75. Look how long it barcoded there. So if it can hold under 950, great. If it can't, well, it's MLGO, and I don't want to fight it. Like I said, any sniper shot I take, if you get a better entry in here, fine. But there was nothing to be had, at least not for a human being, in my estimation. I could have had a stop order to go short, but I just didn't. I don't have a really good reason why I didn't have I know why I didn't have a stop order to go short, because I was looking for a bounce off the trend line. I was initially thinking I wanted to be long off the trend line, so when it broke, I wasn't thinking stop short. So I wasn't sitting there with a stop order. Let's see if we can break down, lose this 875 level, and get down into the next support level, which is 725, and that's when I'm getting out.
Yeah, I think going back to those dreams, wow, that's a 15 penny flush. Okay, nice. So selling definitely coming a little bit in there on Pepsi for now. Now I covered a lot. I'd say about 90, yeah, just around 90% of what I had there between the 50s and the 30s there. A quick little scalp. But yeah, no. So I remember this dream distinctly where there's a seller kind of chasing down, and the ticker keeps on flushing, and I'm trying to front run that seller, but not getting filled because he keeps jumping right back in front of me as soon as I post my order to get in front of him, and I'm just like, that was the dream, and I'm kind of chasing with somebody else who's I don't know what was going on in that dream, but I woke up and I was like, oh boy, I shouldn't chase the short today.
Obi saying oh boy,
that's what happened. That's basically what happened there.
You don't really wake up saying oh
dream,
boy.
But,
all right, I just trailed out of this stupid thing.
Do I really wake up saying oh boy? No, I say other things instead of oh boy. I think oh boy is a what's the look for? No.
I mean,
it's a.
But you don't actually. Nobody wakes up saying anything. You don't. What? You don't say anything when you wake up. You just wake up.
Wake
really?
up and be like, let's
No,
let's get it. Get up and gotta get up and get.
You wake up and are like, yo, let's get this day.
Sometimes.
That's some David Goggins.
No, sometimes I do.
Some David Goggins stuff.
Sometimes
right
I do.
there.
Sometimes I feel like I'm feeling a little lazy. Like maybe I feel a little tired.
Really?
I'm like, all right, it's time to get up and get it. Let's go.
Good for you.
Let's go.
Because if I did that in the morning, my wife would turn to me and like, shut up. I'm trying to sleep. That's what would happen if I said even a word. Like I wake up like the minute before my alarm goes off, so I never get woken up by an alarm. Because I'll hear about it if my alarm goes off. I get up early. I get up at like 4:35. I usually wake up 4:25 to 4:30, but there's an alarm at 4:35 just in case. And if that goes off, I'm hearing about it all day. Like, your alarm went off. You guys know what's up. So, and that's a good one. I like that. See, but you do that to yourself, right? Like, Sweetie Sue, I wake up praying. Great. I think that's a little different. What I meant, I was just like, usually people aren't like talking the moment they get up. Anyways, I could just be wrong about that. But let's go back to Mogul because MLGO, it's not Mogul, it's micro algo. So I didn't get a great price on the breakdown. It held first support, was bidding out in front of it. It held second support, trailed out on that one. Maybe this is a turn on the stock and it's going to continue to go lower, but I'll take it the station to station trade on this one. The whole idea, not going to happen, Nerman. Never. No, my wife is amazing. She's amazing. She's going to Vegas next week for a conference.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
Nice.
I've never been to Vegas, but she's going. But no, it trailed out of Mogul.
You've never been to Vegas?
I've said this before. I'm like the only trader around here or anywhere that's never been to Vegas. Not once.
I used to live in Vegas for a little bit. Because my dad, as a kid,
Where didn't you
my
live?
dad had
You lived in the Caribbean?
he had a consulting job, right? So he had a consulting job. So like different companies, he would get projects with different companies all over the States. So we moved around a lot, to say the least.
You've seen the world. That's
You could say maybe not the world, but I've seen some cities around the States. There.
How old were you when you were in Vegas?
I don't remember. But what I do remember that every day he would get back from work and we would just go for because he likes his walks. He likes kind of being outside. So we would go for a walk down the strip, kind of looking at the fountains in front of Bellagio and going to was it the Aladdin?
Looking at the fountains, huh?
Circus. I liked Aladdin's a lot. Circus was absolutely amazing. And yeah, but no, we'd always go out for a walk on the strip, get some ice cream maybe. He'd get a chance to, spend time with his family and kind of wind down as well, get some exercise in. And then we would either have some dinner outside or back at the hotel. So, oh yeah, they put us up in a hotel for about 7 months for his company did, so.
Yo, that
was pretty nice.
That doesn't suck.
Yeah, that was good.
It doesn't suck at all, man. That sounds pretty awesome. That's pretty cool, man.
I forget which company he was. I think it might have been Oracle. I don't remember, but yeah.
I loved Oracle back in the day. Was one of those.
Oh yeah. What's Oracle?
I mean, look, Oracle's okay now too. I shouldn't even say that. Oracle's been doing pretty well. Like I don't want to be there.
Oh boy.
What?
Oracle's looking like the rest of the.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Every chart you pull up, there's like an oh boy moment to the downside.
Whoa. And then I look over into the futures. I'm like, okay, wait.
It is actually worse than I thought.
Yeah.
Oracle's chart today.
Yeah. Oracle's pretty directional to the downside here. Wow, that's a pretty strong move.
Sorry here.
Whoa.
Riley halted to the
What
upside.
chart is that?
It's B. Riley. I have it. It's halted for the second time to the upside. Only 1.3 million in volume. I've heard absolutely nothing on the wires about this. We were just talking. Like literally yesterday, we were talking about this stock, and I think someone, I forget who it was. We got a super chat about this, and they were like trying to, you're in it and hoping for a chance at the bottom, and all we pointed out was it's got a 50% short float, so maybe that's your chance. Well, it's squeezing now, so whomever it was that sent that super chat, this is your shot. So hopefully you're able to get something out on this, or hopefully. I don't remember the price that you had. Hopefully I really hope it's in the money for you at this point because it's already up 50. From the bottom, it's up 50%, but up 25% on the day, B. Riley. I didn't hear a thing on the wire there. We're going to get to Adair in a second. I think she's got the news. Mogul was fine. This is actually pulling back. Be careful. This could actually halt to the downside the way that it's moving. Got to take those profits when you can. Wow, that's just as fast as it goes up. Like we pull it up and come right back down. So I really hope, mesmerized. I'm pretty sure they said they were stuck at 5. And I'll tell you right now, I'll trade long, short, whatever, but I'm always rooting for stocks to go up in a general sense, and I'm always rooting for everyone out there in their positions. I know when we talked about this one yesterday, neither Sean nor I, there's nothing great that we could say about it when this is the situation, other than, well, I think the usual advice is if you're ever buying a consolidation, when you buy a consolidation, you really need to have an out because you want it to break up because there's room to go. But if it breaks down, you're in a lot of trouble. And I think when you take shots on small cappers, it had a local bottom of 4 here that you could stop that out. 20 to 25 points on something which has the opportunity to double is a reasonable risk to reward on a trade if you're trading equity. There's nothing wrong with that. I've taken shots like that before. I was in Tellurian when it broke $1. It was garbage stock at the time. but it gave me a good R&R. Like I was breaking out at $1 with a stop at 80 cents and a target of $1.75. You know, so you can do those types of things. You just have to have yourself an out so that when it does this, you know, you kind of lose what you were expecting to. And then the way I always look at it is if I go long something like that at 5 with a stop at 380 or 390, that money is out the window. Like I just assume it's gone and then move on from there. And if it works, great. But I've already spent that money by making the trade. Green Hub, it was you. I hope it prints for you. We'll hope it gets another bounce in there if it was you, Green Hub.
Yeah, I think again, I got out of everything there on Pepsi. It's 315. We've kind of been chopping around this 135, 150, 330s for about I guess about 10-15 minutes here. So yeah, a little bit of a chop here, holding this. You know, it's not really coming back down to here just yet. I don't know. We still have about 45 minutes for the trading day left, but. A little bit of consolidation, a little bit of stall there. So again, it was, excuse me, aggressive as soon as I got in. It worked. So kind of a sign for a good trade might be that it goes in your favor right away, right? So we saw some of that happening there on Pepsi. But when it comes into a stall and kind of holds on the bid, when the bid has been strong for pretty much all of the morning session there, looking distinctly different from the market, I do want to respect that a little bit. So a lot of volume kind of going in at the 30s and the 50s, and yeah, take a look at this. Block boys are right there. So I have a bit of a filter there, so you can see. 5339s, a lot like 21,000 shares, 35,000 shares, a lot of orders. Those are all darks, but some on lit gates as well. So yeah, again, just showing me that there is volume that might be transacting at those prices, and that is a little distinctly different from before. So I'm just going to cover it. It could still continue. I have, but I don't necessarily want to keep an eye on it as of right now. Where is the next trade? That's what I'm asking. With only about 4 minutes left.
Think about this one. John Del Segno just asked both of us take a look at Man H. Okay. Looks like TTD. But then there was another question in here, and it's from memes. And shout out to Green Hub. Thank you for the super chat. We appreciate you. If that was you, we're all rooting for you. I mean, I hope that thing busts out. It's a much more fun when everyone's winning. But it was memes in the chat. When a stock bucks trend going down, what is the incentive for people buying? For instance, with MGOL, is it just shorts getting out? So when it bucks the trend going down, I think you mean, you're not talking about this trend break. What
Who's
you're talking
buying on
about
the way down?
No, I think you mean when a stock like this bucks a downtrend and starts squeezing. There's a phenomenon called like soaking up the float.
Yeah,
that'll happen.
Trap.
So it's like like a liquidity trap. So when we have a stock that goes like reverse split like this, right? Like you end up with a small float. This one is like 6 million float. It's done 486 million shares today with a 6 million share float. It's done over 80 times the float today. Like that's just turning over shares and turning over shares. So the idea that that's all some kind of, like anybody stuck in the short in this, it's nonsensical. They had a bajillion chances to get out. So like there's reasonably, it's new shorts getting trapped. But what ends up happening oftentimes is you get a little day one run on something like this. And let's say you had a firm or two that bought it up. And if there's only 6 million shares available, does some big volume. Yesterday, they accumulate, and then maybe today, when it starts doing more volume, all of a sudden, if somebody's able to buy up a good size of the float, there's not a lot of shares available out there to trade. And then suddenly, when that's soaked up, if it starts breaking out, there's not a lot of people on the offer if somebody's holding a boat of the available float in something like this. So it can get soaked up by, I mean, like hedge funds, whoever it might be, that might be doing it. And when that's the case, you can get these runs because there's just nobody out there except for maybe day traders with some available locates or the few that have the stock and might have an opportunity to sell it. And you get this squeeze that isn't necessarily about a big, massive short float. It has more to do with little small day trading shorts or everyone trying to get it intraday, just getting constantly blown up because there's nobody on the ask, and you get that trend. But you can't go 80 times the float and have it be about an overall big time short flow. That's completely irrelevant at that point once a stock is turned over this much. Like if a firm was caught short this in the last couple of days, given the volume it's done, they really stink because you've had all kinds of opportunity to get out. Like before it even broke the local high, it probably did tens of millions of shares. But like, look at how much volume it did by the time it broke out the high. Like you're the worst of all time if you got trapped in this and you were leaning on it for weeks and months or something along those lines. So yeah, it's just, I think it's a little bit more of that. It's going to go back to, because I'm not in the mogul anymore. Probably could have held it a little bit longer. It's not mogul, MLGO. I got to stop calling it that. But UNH, still sitting in it. It broke trend, held the high. It broke first support. I have a bid out in front of the prior high, which is at 63-ish, and then another bid out in front of 60 at VWAP. It's like slowly bleeding to the downside while the market's going sideways. But that's all I'm in. MLGO, I don't know if I see another trade in there. And yeah, if you guys have any other names to look at other than like Riley, let us know.
Yeah, no, I think Adara put it up in the chat. They filed their 10Q an hour before the delisting. So I guess their delisting deadline was at the close today, and bit of a filing there, kind of putting them back in place maybe. But yeah, some strong action on O'Reilly on that move there. Pepsi, yeah, good. I guess I'm kind of glad I recognized a few reasons to buy and kind of got out of that one there. It's bidding right back up as of right now. Not all the way back up, but catching a little bit of a hold there on the bid. So where is the next trade? That's what I'm looking for. Hims and hers still kind of kind of a shake and bake there off of the open, but still very, very weak on the day, trading at 57s here. 49.05 day lows on Hims and hers. Celsius Holdings still holding its anchored VWAP and VWAP. Let's just take a look at that one there. We know this one was crazy off of the open there with a bit of a halt down and then a halt up. And I was like, oh boy. Yeah, no, we were talking about this one as well. Not a 10% drop, and then it halts, which is weird. So if anybody knows any information on that, on why CELH halted both down and up when it didn't move 10% there, maybe there's something I'm missing. Maybe this is a NASDAQ ticker, right? So I think usually it's about 10% of a move that it should halt down on, but it's a $30 ticker. Again, I thought I knew the rules, but I guess I don't know. But this was interesting as well. We were talking about earlier on last year, tickers were halting at weird places where, like, we were just confused. It'd be like, oh, isn't the halt band shouldn't be in and around here? Why is it halting in and around here?
If you thought it was weird earlier this year,
yeah. And then,
remember 2020? Like during the meme craze,
a little bit.
During the meme craze, there were some I feel like there were some very liberal applications of the halts and the halt rules and the halt levels. It didn't always make a ton of sense.
Really?
It was a very strange, like. Every now and then there'd be remember the Funware situation where it was a volatility halt on GameStop and Funware and all those stocks, and then Funware just didn't open for an hour with zero explanation. Yeah. None of it made any sense. And you know what? The funny thing about it, when they decided to reopen Funware, it was basically at the exact point that GME had pulled back to where it broke out from. So at the point where the entire move had been inverted or reverted and come right back on the bid, and then they opened Funware, where obviously now anybody that was holding that long the whole time was screwed.
Yep.
And I wasn't even in it. I had traded it and made money, but I remember I was pissed. I'm like, I could have been in that too. And it's like, are you kidding me? You basically held the thing closed until everybody that was long earlier was lost when it was supposed to be 10 minutes. Anyways.
I remember that.
Yeah, sorry about the rant, guys.
A distinct piece of action, price action from that time, and I'm sure you guys were involved in this. The GME 100 bounce, when it just tanked, kept on tanking, halt down, into that 100, cleanest bounce of 100 I have ever seen, and in that moment,
nice.
In that moment, I was like, wow, this is what a reversion looks like. This is maybe not textbook, but definitely outlier. Definitely some crazy.
You know what was
stuff.
great about that day?
Yeah.
And I'll never forget this. It was COS. On that day, there was a bunch of other meme stocks that were going nuts, and COS was one of the ones. It doesn't do any volume anymore. But I'll never forget, because GameStop did all those halts down. After GameStop had already broken back out to the upside, COS had broken its low and retraced back through its own low. So you could get COS going back through its low of the day when you've already seen GME bounce. So you know GME's now made a bottom, and then you got to get it back through. It was the easiest trade you could have. Did I just do it again?
I think this might be why the market's selling off.
No, but it was the easiest trade you could see because it's a sympathy play. It was just following everything GameStop did, and you were getting a punch through the prior low and give it to the current low of the day, and GameStop was about to halt up. It was like a free money trade. It bounced right into VWAP. So
I remember. Those were
good times, man.
Was it pets and dogs? There wasn't a cats. There was pets and dogs, I think. And then, because I would have this scanner, this momentum scanner up, and then the AI voice or the lady's voice would just say the ticker's name, and it would just be like pets, 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 as every time something makes a fresh high. And then all of a sudden you'd see like dogs, pets, dogs. And I would be like, oh, this is beautiful sympathy. Every time pets moves, you get long dogs. Every time dogs moves, you get long pets. That was pretty fun. And then, Funware COS was nice as well. GME AMC, a little bit of sympathy. That sympathy, that, I don't know if you want to call it like an ARB, but that kind of sympathy fell off really, really fast there as well. But
it didn't last.
COS was definitely a sleeper one because like everything else would move and nothing would happen on COS, and then COS would suddenly start moving like a couple minutes later, and I'd be like, oh boy, yeah, kind of.
I love that.
Like if you were first to that, if you saw GME move or AMC move and your first thought was COS, you made money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, any day that, and I've done this before, any day that GameStop was in play back in the day, or I always knew what my sympathy play was going to be. Like I'd have it up. Sometimes it was BlackBerry, sometimes it was AMC, sometimes it was COS, because I knew that if there was a big reversion on GameStop, I was going to short the other thing or long the other thing because it was a great market inefficiency. I'm going to jump out of this, not doing anything. I got one take profit on UNH. I'm just going to throw a lower high stop in here. I don't want to give it to the high anymore. Obviously, it's a reversion that it's a $400 stock, so it's got some room. But the market's now going sideways. So it's Friday, it's 3:30. You're going very sideways. It's barcoding, so we didn't really get, like it didn't immediately start flushing. I want to just get some out here in front of like the 64.5 or something like that, and then give it a tighter stop to like 68. So instead of risking like $4 on the trade or 3.5, risk half that, and then see if we can get some out a little bit tighter. Running out of time there a little bit, and whoops, I just typed in Riley L when I wanted to go to B Riley. Look at that, it actually caught a bid. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
well,
they're about to get delisted.
I'm rooting for you. It just caught a bid off of VWAP, break out that high. I know we're looking for 5 there. Why is my NQ chart still there? I don't need that. I know we're looking for a 5. It's a ways away, but squeezes have to start somewhere for sure. And Zachary Delia, you're right, naked shorts. Books could be written about that stuff, and in fact, they would be. They will be, for sure. The market not doing as much anymore. Still tracking Tesla. Still tracking Palantir. Neither one of them is giving us a very good setup. Thought if we flush further in Tesla, maybe we'd see something in the 20s for a bounce. Instead, kind of a nothing burger. Like this is how much Tesla's moved in the last 20 minutes. 50, 60 cents. You know, there's just nothing happening right now. So you guys let me know if there's something that's really going. I'd love to find it. I thought maybe MLGO could have been a long. It ended up being a short. Now even it's doing nothing. Sideways on MLG up 600%, and now it's going sideways.
Yeah, Jameson in the chat saying SLV to the moon. So I got to pull it up. And I know gold was at or near all-time highs as of recent, as we've been talking about over the past couple of weeks, I'd say now. This past week for sure. But yeah, no, SLV. Let's see what it's doing. I haven't actually looked at the silver chart. just yet. So this is my first time looking at it in, I would say, a little bit in a few months. But yeah, kind of trailing behind here, not really at its high of day as of right now. But when you go to GLD, oh boy, we were talking about this one here. GLD's been kind of trending up. So maybe silver to follow, but again, it's always kind of lagging behind a little bit here. But as of right now, I think we have a special guest.
Yes, we do. Oh, we're going to have him just a second. I think we had a mic issue with Brendan, so in just a second we'll go up. We do have our guest coming in. Saif says use ESINL. Absolutely, we always do. Just very quickly for everybody, there was one thing that I didn't get to, which I also thought was going to be a trade and might still be one. Apple LOD reversion. We don't have that much time for it to happen, but Apple triple bottomed off 245 in the morning. If we do the same thing again, or bottom here, I'd look for some kind of revert. But when we get the okay, I believe we might have resolved the issue. Not yet. No, we have not. So just give. My bad, Ramin. I misheard you. I misheard you right there. So my bad, and I just heard something else in my ear. But that's okay. So we're looking for a reversion off of the bottom on Apple. It's 3:30, so it is time to usually look at some of the early look imbalances. It's a Friday, you never really know. But all I see is CNQ and Enbridge, two dual listed stocks in Toronto. So a lot of times I try to ignore the imbalance on those types of names unless it's the same way in Toronto. So nothing is standing out. But now we are ready. See, everything is fixed. Ramin is given the go-ahead. Let's go to the desk.
I can hear you.
He's waiting patiently, so why don't we just bring in Ryan Iverson, Portfolio Manager, CEM Partners Fund. We're going to talk a little bit about an investor event and an opportunity for everyone and a newsletter to go along with that. First off, Ryan, it's great to see you and great to have you here from beautiful Whistler, British Columbia.
That's right.
I see you're sporting the colors there and the Canadian scarf after what happened last night. So we appreciate that. How's your Friday going?
It's going great. I mean, last night, what an incredible game. I think to bring it full circle, our first event 15 years ago was held here in Whistler. So to watch the game and to have Crosby get the golden goal and then watch last night's game and see McDavid, I think it's fitting in the passing of the torch and quite an experience. So we're glad to be up here.
Yeah, it's quite the view out the window there. Let's start with maybe a general overview and a little bit of a backstory on these events and the conferences, and give people maybe a touch of why this creates value specifically and gathering issuer investors into multiple events throughout the year and how we can take advantage of that.
Sure. Like I said, maybe I'll just give a little quick backstory on the origins. So this CM started 15 years ago. Our first event was up here in Whistler. And there was really a need to bring retail investors and retail companies together. At the time, there was a lot of institutional events, but not many retail. And so fast forward 15 years, we do 6 shows a year across North America. We start the year off in the Bahamas, then we do Whistler, we do Scottsdale, and then we do Muskoka, Kelowna. And basically, all those events, we have our 3 days. The first day is when all the investors and issuers get to come together at a social and put a face to a name. And then the second day is when all the meetings happen. And so on the Saturday, each investor gets 18 meetings. Each issuer gets 18 meetings, and they're 20 minutes each. So throughout the whole day, you have 1,000 meetings. And so through that process and all those meetings, all these investors really get a good idea of some good opportunities.
And that's then further, and we'll get into this a little bit more, but that's
yes, exactly.
Further drilled down into the actual newsletter that we'll get to in a second here. Let's give them a little bit of a backstory and history on you yourself. You spent 12 years at Raymond James before joining CEM, as you said, in 2019. From that experience, give us a bit of a tie-in here as to how you take that experience managing a portfolio and turn it into something of this nature?
Yeah, I mean, I started at Raymond James in 2008, just before the crash, and I was actually a trader. So I got to live through that experience, which was quite profound, and sort of worked my ranks up there. And I had one of my good friends at the time who was running CEM approach me and asked if I would want to start a capital markets arm and basically use their own product, the events, to find opportunity and build wealth. So I jumped at the chance, and here we are now 5 years later, and it's been a great experience. And I wouldn't have done that if I didn't see the opportunity. And there's not many places you can see this many companies and create an ecosystem like the one we have, where you're seeing all these new industries and sectors evolve, all these management teams, and you just learn a little bit every show.
I want to get into some of the names, not only from past newsletters and past events, but also talk a little bit about the success of those. Let's talk about who comes to this for a second before we do that. There's a very, very scrutinized screening process to get the best of the best coming to these events. Take us through what it takes to just be included in this.
For sure. I think it's important to note that both the issuers and the advisors and the investors who come are both vetted. And so on the investor side, you have the likes of professionals from all over North America, all from vetted. They're all vetted in the sense of they're all registered. This is basically what they've done their whole lives. This is how they've made their livings. And so we know through every event by talking to the issuers what type of investor is actually making investments, who's allocating capital. And on the issuer side, we get basically brought a lot of clients through our network and the advisors who we hold our wealth with. So that creates the first layer of due diligence. And then my business partner, the CIO, Neil Curry, and I, we then also look at the companies and make sure that they have sound management teams. We go through their financials. And so you're already going through 2 layers of vetting before you're able to attend one of these events. So the issuer has comfort because they're meeting really high quality investors. And the investors have comfort because they know they're meeting companies that have been vetted and are going to be quality as well.
Let's talk a little bit about the newsletter itself and give people an overview here.
Sure.
I have it on my screen there, Ramin. Yeah, if you want to grab that. This is obviously an old version of it, but there's also a link, guys, if anyone's interested. There's a link in the description right now of this video, so jump down there after, obviously, this conversation.
Yeah.
And you can sign up for the latest newsletter, but give us an overview of the newsletter, Ryan. Tell us what we can expect as far as the content.
Yeah, so the one we have up right there, that's a good sample of what we just released this week. This one outlines the top picks from last year, and you can sort of see a few of them there. And so I think it's important to note that each one of these newsletters gets put out before, so we highlight all the companies coming to the event, and then we have the event, and then post-event, you get the top 5 picks. And so maybe this is a good time to maybe talk about how that process works and how these top picks get selected at the event. So after all the meetings, which are about 1,000 on the Saturday, I then get all the investors into one room, and we basically make sure it's just the investors. There's no issuers, and each one has makes their top 5 selections. And I don't read those out until I have them all, just to stop anyone influencing each other. That's another reason why we don't have issuers in the room. We don't want anyone being influenced. So we're basically trying to democratize the way that the investors are picking their top ideas. And the top ideas could be anywhere from a company going pre-revenue to revenue, some binary event like drill results, that sort of thing. So after I read out all the top picks, then we have all that data. And then from that data, we distill it down to the top 5, and then we release those picks afterwards. And what we found over, the last couple of years, especially in 2024, from that newsletter you just had up, is that if you would have been picking and investing in those top 5 picks over the last 7 events last year, you would be up 40%.
Yeah, let's maybe jump through a couple of these. I mean, there's a few names on here that I can even recognize. So it's
Right.
Again, if anyone's in the small cap world, a lot of people watching, very interested in this space in general. Maybe talk a little bit about if there's any trends that you see or any specific
For sure.
common catalysts that end up, reappearing over and over again as some of these picks.
I think what was really fascinating with the small cap world is you do find these companies that haven't been recognized yet, and they're sort of diamonds in the rough. And through these events, you actually get to meet like the management teams, the CEOs, and who are running the company. So you get this really intimate 20 minutes with them, which kind of, you start to unfold the real value of these companies. And so for like Binding, for instance, you'll see an asset that's underdeveloped and being developed. And also you overlay that with, sector performance, with, gold hitting, all-time highs right now. And so you put those sort of two things together and you start to get these trends. And so for instance, here in Whistler this week, we got about 60% resource companies. And, there's going to be a lot of talk because, gold hitting all-time highs, inflationary concerns with tariffs. So very topical. And what we see from event to event, there was an AI boom last year. There was a cannabis boom a few years ago. You start to see those companies have more of a weighting at these shows. So you're still getting the full spectrum of companies, but you are getting more weighted into what might be more topical. So it really kind of provides the investor with an opportunity across the board.
And one thing that stood out to me when you and I spoke earlier this week was the simple fact that it's not always the same types of companies that are at these events. You mentioned, different locales throughout, not only the U.S. but in Canada as well. So, it's a full spectrum of offerings here throughout the year.
For sure. There's probably about 250 to 300 companies that come through the ecosystem every year. And, listed on, Toronto, TSX, TSXV, CBOE, CSE, and some NASDAQ companies as well. So you're kind of getting a bit of everything.
So 3-day event, maybe walk through the timeline. If anyone watching is interested in saying, hey, I want this, when can they expect it?
In terms of how the event is run, or just in terms of
the newsletter itself? You mentioned.
Okay, yeah, for sure. Yeah, so the way it works is yesterday we put out basically who's attending. So it's kind of the roster that kind of gets people excited. They know who's coming, and then we do our process with the IBE on Saturday after all the meetings. Like I said, 1,000 meetings. We distill it down to 5 companies. And then on the Thursday, this coming Thursday on February 27th, we'll be releasing those results. So that's a really good reason to sign into investorbreakout.com. You sign up now for free. You can go back in our archives, see some other top picks, see some of the writing. We have a phenomenal team running this. And so we try to get everyone excited. And so the 27th, the results will be out.
Sounds good. And again, for anyone watching, link is down below in the description right now. Hit that link, sign up for the newsletter. And this is, again, just to reiterate, not a one-off event. It happens 6 times throughout the year. So a lot of content, a lot of information to come further down the road. Great stuff. Ryan, anything we didn't touch on this afternoon?
I think you did a really good job of, what we really just wanted to introduce people to the whole ecosystem and what we do with CEM and IBE. And I think what's going to be really fun is, and your viewers are going to see next week, is we provide probably the best vetting system for small cap companies in North America. So the companies coming out in the newsletter, you're really going to see like what the top companies were here. And as you kind of follow along through the year, hopefully you'll find some actionable items that are successful.
Ryan, best of luck throughout the next coming days here. I hope it kind of looks like it's raining behind you there a little bit. So I hope
it was snowing this morning, and I was really hoping for it to provide that aesthetic. But we got rain right now, but you can see some of the skiers, and it's beautiful up here.
Hopefully it gets a little bit better anyways over the next few days. Great to chat. We look forward to hearing more from you guys.
I'll see you next week. Thanks, Brendan.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Big shout out and thank you to Ryan. It looks absolutely horrible there, Ryan. Horrible. Yeah, you're not living the good life. Hey, come on, it was raining. I wanted a better aesthetic.
He's like, look at the skiers, and I'm like,
oh no, you didn't. No, you didn't. And don't think I didn't see what was on the top pick of last year. You just sort of glossed over that. We're a trading show around here, so yeah, we done looked up at that chart. ALD for anyone that wasn't eagle-eyed on that one. This would be January. Oh, so you had to tough it out here. But 70, 75 to, by the end of the year, 230. So I would say that worked out. Shout out to Ryan. We had a few viewers in there that wanted to be able to connect with you. I know you can find them on socials, but it was so fantastic to have them as a guest. I do want to go over what's been happening in the market. Not too much of a change here. When you start to look at the NASDAQ, like, we're still in the exact same range that we've been in, bottom of the channel, but actually holding just barely onto some of these lows. So it's not looking great. A lot of times we talk about what happens at the end of a day like today. Like when I see a bleed day, I'm curious, like, where are we going to end? Like, are we going to actually catch a bid off of some of those lows? So are buyers coming in at the end of the day? Are they exuberant to hold over the weekend? Where did this go and where did I get that from? You know what I did? I don't know, even know you can move that. Put that back. So the NASDAQ literally teetering on the bottoms. I'm still in that UNH trade, or at least a third of it. We did take some out. It's just not really going. So it was a mean revert that's not reverting to the mean or to VWAP at all. Like, it's gone like a couple bucks in the money. It's gone like a buck or a couple bucks out of the money, and just not doing a heck of a lot of action. That MLGO, the other trade that we took, okay, so it is reverting back into VWAP. Obi and I were having a discussion about this one.
Yes. To front side or not to front side?
Yeah, it's sort of like, and the discussion was, if you know you want to short it, like, there's a short available on this failed break of the prior high, but then it's still holding the trend. So do you want to, because to me, like, if you have this short, it's like, it's a great entry and it looks really, really good, but you have to ask yourself where your risk is to that level. Yeah. Like, it's either ridiculously tight or it's really, really big. And I think that's the thing. But if you can catch something off the failed break and already be in here, suddenly you're in a position to add to it when it's breaking the trend line. And then your average price becomes 10 or above instead of 9 to 950. Which I would posit, like, I was sort of on the argument that if I had found a way to get in, like, nibble in here, and then if it breaks trend, add to it, like I was trying to do earlier, that it's a better risk to reward, where I feel better holding it and not scalping the trade. Either way, that's just sort of the discussion that we're having. And Bearded Warriors wants us to look at a SPY chart. Only 3 minutes till the imbalances hit. I'm not taking anything new. Either UNH flushes or I move my stop to break even to tighten it up. But a daily on the SPY, we are right at the 50 period. So without looking, I knew that to be true. But yeah, we're at an inflection point. Like, you'd like to, and this is what I was getting at. Like, you want to see what happens at the end of the day. Are there buyers at the end of the day taking us off a level like this? A little different on the Qs. Like, you still, I mean, it's not that different, but a little different on the Qs. Like, you're adjacent to and close to the 50 SMA. Like, we have a chance to get there. But are there going to be buyers? Are they going to step up? I already said this. Someone mentioned in the chat that Coinbase is on the 200 period on the daily. It's in the bucket of things that I'm not a fan of at the 200 period moving average. So, like, I'm not a bottom picker or a dip buyer on that. Like, to me, I see the Qs or the SPY at that 50 right in front of it on a day like today. And during lunchtime, I go ahead and pick some up. You know, or at the close, I pick some up as a DCA. But yeah, Coinbase distinctly different. I'm not a huge fan of it. Tesla's still bleeding. What's worth also watching here, with only 2 minutes to go to the imbalances, Palantir actually holds on to the $100 level, the 101, nowhere near yesterday's bottom. So while it's bleeding, some of those higher lows, some of those support levels that got put in yesterday on that big Palantir open drop, they're actually holding up. So as bad as it's been for the market, there's like a grain of, like a kernel of something here for Palantir. Because you would have expected after yesterday, if we bled today, this could have been one of the worst, for sure. A couple of questions we got in the chat. Shout out to Bearded Warriors. Thanks. Appreciated. Appreciate you. Thank you for being a viewer. Nerman, does the prop firm make you guys take a day off, a few days off, depending on the severity of the red day you might have? No. Well, okay, so I'm no longer officially the risk manager of like the trading floor, like everything. When I used to be. There was a couple of times where I think maybe it was like strongly suggested, hey man, like take a day. But I don't think I was ever like, no, you're not coming in tomorrow after the hit you had. It was more along the lines of you should take a break. And if I don't think that ever got said and the person didn't take a break, so it kind of never came to that. Yep. There are situations where, someone took a big hit, don't come in tomorrow. That has happened. Yep. But that's a different story, and it's very rare. I've only had to do that twice in 20 years. I only ever had to do that twice to say to somebody, and it was never any fun. But the whole usually traders are pretty good at self-regulating, in that I've found. And if you give a suggestion, they'll go for a walk or whatever. Like every now and then. There was a time as a risk manager, the imbalances just hit. I won't even finish that story. I'll tell you in a second. Imbalances just hit at 350. So WBA, 2 million to the buy side. AGNC, 3 million to the buy side. NU's there for a couple mil to the buy side. NVIDIA, there's NVIDIA, 1.8 million on NVIDIA to the buy side. Nikola, who's going bankrupt, 1.6 million to the sell side. And Rivian, 1.3 to the buy side. Don't know what the overall number is going to be, but some decent size imbalances there. Nothing too crazy. The market's a 1.2 billion sell. The NQ, 175 buy, and the Mag 700 buy. So it's it's very nothing burger for the Mag 7 and the NASDAQ, but the market overall is an actual sell imbalance. Not much movement that I can see. I think it's probably time to just punch out a UNH. Literally punch out flat in UNH. It's kind of crazy.
But I wanted to kind of speak on that because I've never been told to not come in the next day, but I have been told once to go home. And I think,
really? No.
Yeah. Both, I'm sure Wayne is okay with me saying this as well. Wayne and I both have been sent home before as well. In the middle of the day, just be like, you're not managing your risk properly. You're not respecting rules. You don't even maybe necessarily have to be, shut down that bad. If it's just, if the manager thought at the time that maybe you're not managing risk, you're not in the right headspace, be like, just go home. Go home right now.
I can tell you.
So, I've been told to do that for not having a stop in because it was it was like a couple times before, and I might have been on my third strike, and it's not like I blew up that much, but it was just because I wasn't following that rule, and I was just like I was told to go home. There.
But that's more commonplace, more reasonable. The story that I was going to say, and I think that I think it's good that that's an advantage of having a risk manager. It gives you that external discipline so that you don't have to only lean on your internal. You can build that through time. But there was two instances. One wasn't me. It was the assistant manager on the floor back in the day. And this happened with me, where it was a situation where a trader was told, for risk purposes, get out. Get flat now. And the response was, and it happened to another manager when I was a manager, I was busy doing something else, and the answer was, and the guy flat out said no. And when it happened, and the guy said, and the dude said it to me, and he goes, and he used it, and he cursed when he said it. And I get it, money's on the line, and he cursed when he said it. Damn. And I remember, and I'm like, I actually was pretty proud of myself in that moment because I was livid, absolutely livid. I'm like, okay. And he was not a trader with us the next day, but I think I was really, really calm. I was so angry. I'm like, seriously? Really? Like, really? Okay. That's how it's going to be.
You're not going to stop out? I'm going to stop you out.
No, I wasn't even, though. It wasn't even like that because you got to be respectful. Money, the thing about it is money's on the line, and you got to understand, you've been there, I've been there, everyone's taken a hit, and you know what that feeling is, but there is a moment when push comes to shove, and you got to do something. But Nas,
good lessons.
It's all commission. Here at Real Trading, you get a commission. Where is it? Was it Nas A? Hey, Nas A. Do you get a draw or is it all commission?
What's a draw?
It's all commission.
What do you mean by draw?
I think it's I'm not sure exactly what he means by that, but I think he does mean that you can pull some profit. Actually, you know what? I'm not even sure what you mean by a draw. To be honest with you.
Commission-based.
It's 100% commission-based, and you put no money down at Real Trading.
Yes.
So I don't know if you're describing firms that have a different model. Probably you are, but it's all commission at real trading. So there's no, you don't get, like, traders don't get a salary. As the great Ice Cube once said, just do it. So it's 354. There weren't a heck of a lot of imbalances.
I see nothing.
But it's getting late. I mean, we're going to have the aftermarket show. Adara's going to be joining me.
13 million to.
Whoa, that wasn't there before.
Tillery's 13 million to. Hold
That
on.
wasn't there before.
Hold on.
Hold on a second.
Hold on. What is going on here? Why is this? Oh, that's because it's not linked to anything. All right, so.
Well, Tilray's going.
Tilray.
That was not there before. I swear that was not there before. 13 million to buy on Tilray, and it's going absolutely nuts right now. To Adara. Adara, what's up?
Just to remind everyone, we have a lot of earnings next week. So here's our calendar. We just posted this on X at TTV Research, and there are so many earnings I could not even fit all of the cash tags or $ hashtags into the X post. So NVIDIA, obviously the biggest here. NVDA reporting after the bell on Wednesday, but Wednesday also has Salesforce, C3 AI, it's Snowflake, as well as Teladoc Health and Paramount. We're also going to have Domino's Pizza and Berkshire coming through on Monday. We get Riot, another crypto name like Marathon. That's going to be coming through on Monday afternoon as well. Tuesday night, pretty big. And then Thursday, if you're a small cap or meme trader, you're going to be pretty happy on Friday morning, because Thursday night, you're going to get SoundHound, you're going to get Clover Health, and you're going to get SMR, one of these names here. So Dell also on Thursday night, guys. Back to you.
Wow, so that Tilray, that's insane. It just made a top at $1. It's already starting to pair off here. 355 hit and went 13 million to 9 million. So I don't know if it was much of a chase there, but it's still 8.7 million on the imbalance here for Tilray. Now 8.2 and dropping. So it got to $1. That's insane. There was no index action that I'm aware of. I wasn't expecting to see anything on Tilray. Well. It just sort of came out of nowhere. That imbalance. It's just, I'm not chasing it because it already paired off a good third or more than a third still going to the downside. If it's still there at like 58, different story, right? It'll be like if it's if we're there in the last 2 minutes, there might be a quick little scalp trade. But the algos ate this one up. Like you saw my chart when I came to it. It was just a gap up. The algos destroyed that trade on that imbalance because it was not there at 350 and then all of a sudden it showed up.
It's not there. Sort of
even on the one. Now it's 6 points. Like it's still pairing off here on
54. See, it didn't even come out at 50. It came out at 54. Exactly. I have the 54 candle here. But yeah, that's the dollar level that it's pushing as of right now. Here, let me pull up the chart for you guys so you guys can see. This was the rip, and some of the data not even on the chart. That's how fast I guess it moved there. But yeah, it moved from 80s on the imbalance all the way to $1 break happening as of right now. But yeah, no, I'm just staring at this in awe. I'm just like, well, I know I'm late to the trade. It's at $1. I think I'm gonna watch this into the close. There's still 3 minutes into the close. Maybe potential for a trade, but Neil's definitely right.
But remember, it's
algos.
NASDAQ.
Yeah, it's NASDAQ. Algos are all over this. It'll still trade some volume after the close as well. But yeah, 56 is that pairing event in NASDAQ. We still have about 5 million shares waiting to be paired. 4 million now. So yeah, a little bit of aggressive pairing coming into the close with only about 2 minutes left, Neil. So absolutely.
Yeah. The other thing too is you can't auction it if you're going to.
Yeah, you can't auction it right now.
You can't auction it because it's after 55.
You either take it into the close.
Like you'd have to, if you were trying to take that hoping it stays a bid, like you just have to hopefully find a way out. And see what I meant about it starting to pair off?
Yeah.
Like that was a little bit of a trap if you tried it late. You had to somehow have it early. Now it's paired down to 2 million shares. So 3 million, 2.8 million. And you're seeing it start to pull back. Like that's why you didn't see me punch. Like unless you had it in the 90s, you could forget about it. There was no purpose to buying it up there, despite the gigantic imbalance. So I thought maybe there was a chance it could be big. 90 seconds to go. I'm gonna head on up to the desk to make sure I'm logged in for the aftermarket show. Going to be a wild one. Lots to go over, and including all of a sudden Tilray out of nowhere.
Thank you, Neil. Adara has some news for us.
Donald Trump is talking about tariffs. Apparently, he's saying that he will, quote, soon impose reciprocal tariffs, and that, quote, the tariff thing will be very interesting. So not a lot of clarity here, but worth noting when Trump talks about tariffs, sometimes we do get a move in the market. As of last week, we had the big one announcement when it comes to tariffs, but it didn't give us much clarity. Still not a lot here other than he thinks they will be very interesting. So go back to OP here, I guess.
Thank you very much, Adara. Yeah, so markets, we've been selling off on tariff news back to back. Market already sold off, so it seems like a little bit of a front run of President Trump's announcement for those reciprocals there. But yeah, no, 95 is now trading here. I'll pull up. I can see that you guys. This book is still on Tilray. So, sorry, on Google. Let me just pull that up for you guys. It does trade on the NASDAQ, so you guys can see what I'm seeing as well. Chart a little irrelevant right now. Just got to take a look at this book as of right now. But yeah, 95 is trading. So yeah, pretty crazy day, pretty eventful. Hopefully you guys had a solid trading day, a solid trading week. I've been here with you guys for a decent chunk of the week, and it's, you know, I've had a great time as well. 9 seconds left for the bell, and I see Adara standing there as well. So I'm curious to know how this Tilray kind of closes on the day today. So we're gonna continue watching that one, and I'll let you know. 3, 2, 1. Thank you very much, Foremost Clean Energy, for sponsoring the bell today. So thank you very much there. And I did not see, the print. The print is 9515s there. And we got a little bit of a super chat as well during that time. Lingering catapult with the super chat. Thank you very much. Bought Tilray at 83.78 cents. So 83.78 cents. Yeah, so 83 cents, 84 cents-ish. 4,000 shares sold at 93s. Great show, boys. Happy Friday, and happy Friday to you too, Lingering. And we're coming right back into some of those reference prices, maybe into VWAP as well. So absolutely crazy. A little bit of crazy move going into the close there. A delayed auction or imbalance coming out there on Tilray. 13 million. I looked at it before. It wasn't there before, and all of a sudden it shows up, and this is the kind of price action that can result in a really outlier imbalance showing up all of a sudden there. And definitely algos will be all over that kind of thing, and probably getting the best prices as well. Some of you said you got your 84s and 83s and 82s. Kudos to you. That's an absolutely solid snipe on the ticker, and yeah, back into $1 there on Tilray. So congrats to anybody who had that. Congrats to anybody who had a good trading day. Don't forget, good trading day doesn't mean red or green. Did you follow your process? I definitely did there. And a solid trading week nonetheless. But before you guys go anywhere, you guys got to stick around. We got the market recap with Adara and Neil. I'll see you guys later. Take it easy.
Thank you so much there, Obi. Wow, what a day, what a close. Obviously, we're happier when the markets go up, or we're happier if we held on to some shorts a little bit longer. We'll get to somebody that did. I think certainly long enough. But there was a lot of action right at the end there on Tilray, and this is the reason why, like here at Real Trading and here at Trader TV Live, you know, we're going to show you guys those imbalances, because every now and then you'll see something a little bit crazy, right? You saw something there with Tilray. Just absolutely insane. That 13 million buy imbalance took it from like the 80s all the way through $1 and right back down. That's the mechanics of that imbalance. Like, it's not like it's a sustained move or anything on news. It's just someone wants the shares and they can't fulfill it all in the auction, and then, you know, you're able to buy it back up on that pressure. Sometimes it comes back into the downside. The other thing is you had that crazy MLGO. Well, if you held on to that short, didn't, all the way down, it actually touched $6, believe it or not. Now back at like $7. But this was the kind of day where everything was red.
Oh yeah.
There was no bastion of hope or a silver lining out there, with the exception of a few healthcare names were pretty good. Like, you're okay if you were Pfizer was actually not that bad.
Lilly was okay early.
Lilly was good early. You had Johnson, J&J wasn't that bad. You had some old school dividend type names, like had good days, like Pepsi, Pepsi, J&J.
Yeah.
But not that bad for the Chinese names. Like, now they trended down like everything else. Like, you can't sit there and tell me that it wasn't trend down on JD, that it wasn't trend down on Alibaba, FXI trend down, but closing to the upside. It's one of the few things that are green. And then you also had consumer staples doing pretty well, right? And I think we were just talking about sort of Pepsi having a strong day in there. Actually gave some back, but still up 3%. The reversion, as you saw Obi talking about, but still overall, you pop up that daily. It's a strong day for Pepsi. It did give a little bit back off the top, but up 3 points there. And then the aforementioned J&J gave a little bit back at the end, but still a strong day. Everything else, uranium, 4.4% to the downside. We had solar, 3% to the downside. It was bad yesterday for the financials. It was bad again today, another point to the downside for them. Individually, we had Tesla getting a little rugged, down 5% on Tesla. Palantir, which has been getting beaten up lately, Palantir down almost 5% today. The strongest name in the Mag 7 Adara all day long was Apple. Apple goes red at the end of the day. And this was one of the few powerhouses all day long. It was doing yeoman's work during that downward trend, and then it finally conceded and lost the bid. So this was a hefty risk-off type of event, or day, I should say, where basically anything that you had short, more or less worked out, as long as you had a good, I mean, if something was trending up, obviously you had to get like a reversion or something, but you really couldn't have lost short today. But the bigger story is you had to be able to hold on to them. I look back from the morning, and it's like, I didn't hold on to this, I didn't hold on to that. That's just how it is sometimes.
Yeah. And like, so I will talk then a little bit about CrowdStrike, if I may.
Let's do it.
So I had, and I'd like to clarify, I just checked because I don't check my P&L during the day really unless I'm concerned, like, you know, how much am I losing? How much can I take on a trade, right? So I'm nicely up in the day. I'm happy with my performance in the day. And a lot of that does have to do with CrowdStrike. So I'm going to talk about this Crowd trade. I'd been watching Crowd all day. We had a catalyst on CrowdStrike. UNH, which I know you traded, and I also traded to much worse effect. Basically, they both had different catalysts where the DOJ was investigating them. So CrowdStrike comes out here, and they're like, hey, basically what's happening is, or I guess they're not out, like Wall Street Journal reporting that they are being under investigation here. Oh, I think we're on Obi's chart. With regards to the SEC. So unfortunately, this is not like the chart I took trades on. It's just e-signal, but I can still show you guys my entries. So one of my, I like taking low of day shorts. Like I've said this, I'm very comfortable with that to the point where that's a playbook to me, as long as I have somewhere to risk. So it's usually prior bar high or something. In this case, I like this low of day break that we got here through 417s, but I didn't take that one. Instead, what I actually did was I took this, and this is beautiful, like this is to the cent, this rejection here of the previous low of day at 417.35s. Like that, I love that. That was gorgeous. So I got short at 416s, risked to the 417.35s, and I held, I think I took my last piece out at 406.30s. So I was able to basically get 10 points on it, which is pretty nice. Yeah, I just held a risk to prior bar high on the 30-minute chart. And then at the end of the day, I just got out. So please just punch. Did take some pieces out too early, but I'm happy I just held it because with this, you had really no reason to sell, right? You know, Obi was talking about reasons to buy, reasons to sell with that Pepsi trade, and that's something I know he talks about as well. It's something I'm trying to execute more as well. Eli Lilly, I had fun with too. I think the issue with Eli Lilly is I think I took, like the trade that really worked on Lilly, I should have had more size on, and then one of the ones that was a bit more meh, I had too much size on, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I'll reflect on those trades, but Tesla was nice today. I had some little like level-to-level Tesla trades and this CrowdStrike short. So sorry to wax poetic, but I want to say again, thank you so much. I'm just happy I got to be back on the midday to visit y'all twice this week. So that was really fun. And I'm so happy that all these spready children, all these spready tickers were moving for me. Like I had Apple Oven, I had UNH, I had Lilly, I had CrowdStrike. Like it was a spread trader's treat.
This was it was one of those days where no matter your sort of style, like what kind of stocks you like to trade, you did have something to trade today.
That's true.
And that's sort of, if you liked a stock that was gapping down on earnings for a reversion, you had Rivian, let's just say. If you liked a small cap, ridiculous style runner, you had MLGO.
There was the VVD too one that Sharif was trading.
That was another one. INVD. IVVD. I think, yeah, you're right. You had that as well. If you just like your old boring Teslas and Apple strong, Tesla weak, you had that. If you like your continuation short, you had Palantir. Little something for everybody. But in the old full disclosure thing that we like to do, because that's how we roll around here, there was one stock that I know, and I already probably talked about this, so you've probably heard me say this, is kind of a missed opportunity because I should have had SMCI short. And it's not a very good excuse for this. Is a 3-minute going to show you this better? This is the 3-minute chart, yesterday's high on SMCI, and this is what it did. Right at the open, it's a simple fail to break prior day high, stair step to the downside. You know, like every now and then you're just watching the wrong thing. And I'll admit, like at the open, there was a focus on Celsius. I think that ultimately when it was halting, it wasn't making sense of prices that it was halting at least to me, and I was just staring down the tape looking for a trade that never really materialized for myself on Celsius, and then missed a couple of opportunities. Like I think I got a secondary short on Palantir, which maybe if I got the first one, I would have done even better with the second. Who knows? But there was a huge missed opportunity on a stock where you kind of knew was explosive in either direction. If it was going to break out the high, you had a big gap. When it lost that 62 double top, again, there were multiple opportunities to get short on SMCI. So this wasn't one where it's like, oh, I didn't hold on to the short. That's Palantir. But this was one where, my goodness, if you trade SMCI every day this week because of its volatility, today wasn't the day not to trade it.
Yeah. And
that's sort of where I was like, it's a little frustrated with it. And let's not forget, Tuesday is the deadline for SMCI.
Yes.
So push comes to shove on Tuesday. Like they can always know they can get an extension. SMCI can get another extension. That is possible. That's possible.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel like if it goes that route, you're back underneath $50, maybe even in the 40s. Maybe a 3-handle wouldn't be that crazy as well. The market's not looking for another extension. Yeah. They want that certainty, and it could explode. It's gone so far down. They've already given you the forward numbers or the early look that wasn't that great, but it was something. And now if they just finally report, I feel like you can make a real support on this stock, which hasn't been there this week.
So here's my thing. I mentioned this in the midday on Wednesday, and I am not in any way an SMCI bear. I want everyone to make money. I don't want anyone to lose money. That being said, SMCI kind of scares me in this way because we have no guarantee that they will report. We were expecting an actual non-preliminary report in their last report, and what did we get? Another preliminary report, right? So I do think it's worth being a little cautious about. Even B. Riley, they reported in the nick of time, 1 hour, and yet they had a 270% increase in their year-over-year losses. In their losses, 270% increase. That was a gross report. So even SMCI reporting in the nick of time might not be a great look for this company. In my understanding, I did some research. The only reason we really got that bull run was not because people were super excited about that preliminary report. I'll pull up the SMCI chart because, as Neil mentioned, it wasn't good. No, people are getting all gung-ho because the 2026 guidance was higher than expected. The 2025 guidance wasn't. So people are getting excited about guidance that we'll have a year from now for a company that, quite frankly, may or may not be publicly trading at that point. So this is not to be a bear. This is not to be a negative Nelly. This is just, I would say, be very, very, very cautious. And that's the only reason I'm saying all of this. We also have a super chat here from Marty for the $10 super chat. Thanks for all the insight this week. Definitely helped my P&L. I mean, that's awesome. Adara, thank you, saying I was great in the trade desk. Appreciate that. Thank you, Marty. Congrats to Canada on that win. I had nightmares all night. Get better, Sean. Thanks. Thank you very much, Marty. Tell you, do thank you to Bears versus Bulls as well. Getting name dropped in that super chat.
What a game. And got to thank Obi for stepping in for Sean. If you watch, I said this in the morning, and for anybody that was watching yesterday, you know, like Sean he threw down to show up yesterday. We had Brett Favre on. It was a big day. Palantir was moving, but like in the morning you could tell, and it's like, you know, sometimes you're battling it, and it's like yeoman's work to get through the day. And I was like, man, I can't believe he actually even got through. And it's one of those, we love what we do, and it's a lot of it is thanks to you guys, and we hope he gets better. I mean, he'll be better over the weekend. Oh, and by the way, speaking of Brett Favre, if you missed our interview with Brett Favre, Hall of Fame quarterback, Green Bay Packers legend, obviously that's one of Sean's favorite players. If you missed that interview yesterday, then 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, it is going to be dropped. We've got it edited, so we pieced it together.
Apple News.
So we have it perfectly done. So at 10 o'clock, you're able to check it out tomorrow morning. Look out for that. Check it out. It was a heck of a lot of fun. The guy's an absolute a legend. And a serious topic as well. I just heard you have some news.
Trump's talking about Apple again, or specifically more about Tim Cook or Tim Apple. So Donald Trump's saying apparently Tim Cook does not want to pay tariffs. He wants to build, and that Apple will spend a lot of money in the U.S. So keep an eye on that. Also, apparently they're signing a digital tax tariff memo today. Quote, maybe. So we might get another tariff-related memo. But what apparently is happening is Tim Cook of Apple does not want to pay tariffs because they want to build, and they're going to be spending some money in the U.S. So what I read was this is going to be better for the U.S. than it is for Apple due to the costs. So that's what my understanding of this catalyst. But yeah, I think it's interesting. If I see any more headlines with regards to Apple and Trump and Tim, I will let you guys know post-haste. I just wanted to bring that up here. Yeah. There's also a question from JF, or not a question, a comment from, I think it was JF or J, I think JR in the chat that I would like to address too if we have time later with regards to trading spread, because I think it's a really interesting point.
Well, the funny thing about trading spread is there's actually a lot of room to improve executions with the gateways that you use.
Yeah.
It adds up over time. Like one thing that you don't necessarily worry about it when you're trading an Apple because it's a 1 penny spread.
Yeah.
So you're generally getting really good fills. But when you trade things that have a little bit more spread, you'd be surprised at over 20 trading days in a month and then 12 months out of the year. Obviously, there's like holidays and stuff. Like if you save just like 1 point here, 1% on that fee, like if it's a 15, 20 cent spread, and instead of getting in the middle of it, you're getting like the quarter. So if it's like evens to 20s, instead of getting filled at 10 all the time, or hitting the offer, sometimes you're getting filled at 5, 6s with just better dark pool. Like there's so many things you can do that we'll talk about, because as you grow in that, as a trader at a prop floor with the advantage of all those different keys, you'd be surprised at how much extra juice there is to squeeze out of it. And that's the advantage of real trading, to refine your trades. And there's other platforms that will have that advantage too, but I'm just sort of talking about us over here. So obviously, and shout out to everybody in here that is still commenting about the hockey game. I just saw in there, White Nubian King, fight, USA. Hey, you guys tried. And I'll tell you right now, I absolutely love the action. I think I've said it before, I'll say it again, I think it's trash when you boo, regardless whether it was you guys booing our national anthem or retaliation to us booing yours. I think it's trash both ways. For the players, I just love the fact that they're playing hard. I'm an Olympics junkie because I love to watch people representing their country and the passion that comes from it when they do it in sports, right? Because it gives you that avenue to be proud, and you're not fighting, but you can be fighting for your country without actually having to, you know what I mean? Fight for your country. It's always cool to see. I thought both teams played their hearts out, and that's all you can ask for. I'd love to see that happen in other sports when they have their all-star games, because that would be a heck of a lot more cool. But just back to the market for a second, because I wanted to talk about the uranium names when they led this push to the downside. If you look at this ETF, 4.5 points down, and a loss of a major bid here on the daily. Now, there's this August bottom, which ended up, remember the August bottom? There was like that panic bottom, everything's like limit down. Like there's that and a double bottom here. And the fear would be, if you lose that low, you're in trouble. Anything losing the August bottom, in my opinion, is like, that's not good. You're trash at that moment. And it gets on the do not buy until something changes list for me. But the fact that uranium's getting down there, it does put a little bit of concern on some of the, I'd say, stronger energy names, which have been doing really well. And I say this as somebody who owns GE Vernova and likes GE Vernova. And since earnings, when it made the top, it's down 8% today. With that uranium pullback and the certain market pullback, it's now on a major support level. And if we lose 315, I don't like this. If we lose 315, the 200 period's there, and in a long-term sense, I've owned it for a long time because I got it in the spinoff, so it's not like I'm out of the money on it. But the 200 period moving average is suddenly not so far away on this. Now, that's a name that I'm buying at the 200. But if you're long up here, it's about to test that support level. And these are names that we're working. We're talking GEV. Vistra has been doing well. You get some pullbacks in there. CEG as well, Constellation. So there's a lot that was happening today that I know doesn't always get covered because we're talking the things that we day trade.
Yeah.
But there was some major pullbacks. And I generally say on days like today, my mind is sometimes to the chagrin of day trading, I'm just thinking about where are the places that I want to buy stuff.
Yeah.
Because when there's a panic day, usually there's something I want to buy, whether it was the SPY hitting its moving average. So you have the SPY hitting the 50 periods. I'm like, okay, that one as a dollar cost average guy, dollar cost average once a month, usually if I have cash. in the SPY or the Qs, something like that, or as an individual stock at a level I like. And G Vernova could get there in the next couple of weeks.
Wow, yeah, I mean, I think certainly, yeah, a lot of things pulling back to some interesting levels for sure. Especially, I think next week the market could really be tested because we have NVIDIA earnings. And NVIDIA earnings are usually kind of viewed as a microcosm for the market. My opinion is, and I've always said this with NVIDIA, I don't care how much they beat by. If they miss on any metric or any aspect of guidance, they will fall. And that's generally how NVIDIA goes. So I always like to be, cautious when it comes to NVDA. I like to put that out there. I guess I'm a little bit of a cautious person. But yeah, I mean, with that in mind, I would like to kind of talk, I guess, a little bit on spread too, because someone in the chat, it was JR, was saying, I don't understand trading spread because it's hard. And I think the thing is too, I remember even my first couple appearances, I would be like, I don't touch spread. Like if it's got more than like a 2-cent spread, I don't touch it. But I think that's one of the things, we were talking about this on Wednesday as well with Sharif, the importance of finding your own style and trading your own book, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think you have to try a lot of things, and we're very blessed. We're on a prop for. I was very lucky to be able to trade sim for a huge period of time, especially because I had no trading experience before coming here. But you have to think about, what is your personality? What do you like doing? Where do you excel? And I mean, Sharif calls me the human algo. I'm a very pattern-based person. I really like history, and I like seeing how things move. And for me, when I'm trading the spread, it's a lot of just reading the tape, looking at the book, seeing how things fall into place, right? I've talked about looking at the creep up on the bid or the creep down on the ask for buying or selling cues. So stuff like that, I think, can really help. And there's ways to do that. Sharif has gotten really adept and used to trading the book on the small caps. He loves the small caps, right? And so I think it doesn't have to make sense to other people if it makes sense to you. And I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like, you're going to trade your own playbook. If you enjoy doing it, if you can follow it, then by all means do so. Like, I've tried trading small caps. I've tried trading, normal caps. I still will trade mega caps sometimes, mostly the spreadier ones like Tesla or Meta or Softy. But the point I'm trying to make is, I think you need to, live a little, try to experiment with everything, but don't knock something just because, or not knock, but understand that everyone is going to have their own approach and is going to see the market in their own unique way. And I'm not, I really actually thank you, JR, for saying that in the chat, because it made me think a lot. I think it's a pretty good conversation to have.
There's actually one thing that I used to, when I was on the trading floor, and it was when I was a trainee too, but even when I started to do better, and ended up being one of the veterans or leaders on the floor, I used to hate it when anyone would say, oh, you're trading penny stocks, you're not a real trader. And I started trading penny stocks, so I used to take it a little personally. I'm like, last time I checked, my commission check isn't different because I was trading Apple or if I was trading Mullen. It was never true. I never made more or less money because of what I was trading or who thought it was a good idea. None of it matters. As a trader, your only job as a trader is to make money. It doesn't, as long as the strategy works, you do it. And what I've found is most traders, what they think they're going to start, it's just what you think you want to do as a trader, what you think you are. And when you find success, if you find success, it might be somewhere else. Now, you can grow into trading the things that you wanted to, but you never know where your success is going to come from because you're figuring out what speaks to you. And then there was a great comment in here from, was it Henry? I might have missed it. I might have missed it actually saying, Henry Liu, there it is. That's who it was, saying there's that difference between day trading, swing trading, investing, and how sometimes when your brain is working in one of those modes, you can kind of mess up the others. So when I'm sitting there in the middle of the day, okay, where are my bids in my personal account for the long term? That's at the expense of, making good day trades in the middle of the day because my mind's not there. And that happens, I get it. Everyone's like, oh, you guys need to be trading for the show and all that. But in the middle of the day, I was like, oh, think bid here and pick up some shares there. You're thinking other things, but that's two separate brains. And sometimes you want to jump from one to the other, but you really don't want to let them blend. It's so very different, swing trading, day trading, and everything. And David, this was mentioned, by the way. David Tretzak, was this mentioned today, the new potential coronavirus in China, possibly correlated to the down move? Now, there's a lot of people speculated today that move that we had down was sort of tied to that story. Here's what I don't know. It wouldn't be the first time that spooked everybody. It's certainly possible. I think sometimes we search for a correlation where, like, how many guests have we had on? We had Andrew Rader talking about the fail at the highs and a bit of a reversion, and talking about some of the bearish signs in the market at this top. We've been having trouble with some of these highs for a while now on the NASDAQ and on the SPY. You had the financials, which double topped and had pulled back. Like, sometimes you get to a level where you're running out of bullish moves. We're coming to the tail end of earnings season, and it's just excuses to sell. And then we come up with the reason after because there happened to be a story. Now, hopefully there is. I've already said it, and I said it when I first heard the story. I ain't doing this nonsense again, man. There ain't going to be no coronavirus because just no. Please no. Can there not just be another repeat of that? Obviously for everyone's health, but just for how much it absolutely sucked. It sucked. Now, it was fun to be able to come in and do the show for everybody because we still got to give the show to you guys. Never had to take a day off. I didn't have to stay at home all day like everybody else did. But you came in here, and I love our team, but all we did is just interacting with the same people. The back office was empty. There's nobody on the streets. There's nobody out at the restaurant.
Crazy.
It just stinks because you want to be able to talk and interact with people.
You can't.
And it's not good. It's just not good for our mental when we're not able to do that, as far as I'm concerned. I'm glad we have you guys for sure, and I want to try to keep it a little bit light. And I wanted to go here. Elizabeth Stott, I agree with you. The Canadian boo went a little bit too far. What I would say for some of the stuff, a lot of that rhetoric, the majority of Canadians do not hate Americans. It's just not true.
Yeah.
It's a lot of nonsense. We're not going to be the 51st state. We think that's nonsense too, but majority of people in the world are good, reasonable people that just love their families and love their kids and want better for the next generation and, you know, and want to have a beer and watch a good game or whatever it is that you're into. It's just not about that. Make some money in the markets. That's all we care about at the end of the day. So at the end of the day, like going back to the markets for a quick second, I was going to segue back on over to the financials because we were just sort of talking about that. And I know we only have a couple of minutes to go, so it's the last thing I was going to say before we get into like maybe the rundown. I'm a little bit, we didn't specifically say this. So earlier on in the week, there was the story that they're going to, like the Trump administration is going to keep some of the antitrust and mergers and acquisition
that was a story.
Scrutiny on, and that was one of the big drivers for the financials and some of the investment banks being strong and the banks being strong. But it was a delayed reaction on that sell. It's almost as if when the market started selling, it cascaded because you already had this underlying.
Yeah.
I still like the financials this year, but I think on a relative basis, like the way I'm approaching it is now all of a sudden, like I liked Morgan Stanley for the deal making. Now I'll just be like, instead of Morgan Stanley, I'll prefer the ETF. I'll prefer the the XLF. Because the individual name that I like, I think the deal making was a big part for them. I'd say the same thing for Goldman. I think the trading side is going to be okay as well. But I think in that sense, I probably will be a dip buyer of the XLF as opposed to Morgan Stanley, which I know I said the opposite a couple of days ago. And so that's just one change for me. But it's already 4:30, everybody. I can't believe it's 4:27 anyways.
I know.
I like that. Professor Love. Canada is worth 10 states, not just one. Yeah, we'll take it. Hey, man, as long as I get to go down for spring training and get to hang out and have fun and look, man, I love it. I visited Texas. I visited Atlanta, West Coast, Buffalo, Cincinnati. Like, I've been all over the place in the U.S., and it is what it is. Most people are good, and it's the same thing up Canada. If you've ever been out east in Canada, I suggest you go visit Halifax. I think everyone would love it. But that's what it's all about, 20 senators. No, but like before we get out of here, I want to remind everybody, if you missed the Brett Favre interview yesterday, 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, it's being dropped. Get a chance to see it. It's a great interview. Regardless of whether you're a football fan or not, or whatever you think about it, brain health and concussions is a serious topic. And, I'll be honest, like when Sean and I were interviewing him, I thought, we joke and we talk some sports, but it was so dead serious that it ended up being a really good, strong discussion about everybody's brain health. And it's not just about football players, it's all kinds of sports. And, you can get concussions for even things like soccer, it's like much more than you think. Repeated head trauma. So I think it's a fantastic watch. So check it out. It's dropping tomorrow morning. But you know what time it is, Dara?
I do.
Time for a little roll call.
Time for some roll call here. So we have thank you to Neil. Thank you to Sean. Hopefully you're feeling better, Sean. Thank you to Sharif. Thank you to Joe. Hopefully he's chilling. I'm sure he's having a good time in the warmth. Shout out to Obi for covering. Thank you to Bears Bulls for everything you do every day. Fabian, Ramin, Andre, Brendan, Brett Favre, and both of our guests today, Greg and Ryan, and everyone in the chat. Celery too, Robert Liu. We have Randall Leger, Mad Wordle, Bob S. Never, always, ever. We've got Nephew with the capital P. We have Bearded Warrior Trades, Elizabeth Stott, Michelle Mir, Ronaldo Ostentatious Productions, T.S. Booger, Shahid, Brandon. We've got Random Gamer, Damian Tarza, Raul, Mark L, Professor Love, John Manzoni. We have Daryl Flinch, Ari Pages, Poor Robin Hood, Ronat. We've got Rohit Sharma asking a really good question, but I don't know if we have time to answer questions right now, just about pre-market prep, but losing in the morning. I will say for my part really quickly, I came up with a separate plan for the morning. So figure out why you're maybe making mistakes or losing in the morning, and then try to create a plan tailored to that, because I found that helped me. But Carlos Briones, Robert Liu, Master Cool, YG13, Jay Sanko, Shenanigans, Got Rats, I love that, like Got Milk, and Lunch 911.
Thank you very much, Adair. Just a quick note on that. The opening rush off that first 9:30 to 10 o'clock time, sometimes it's okay. I've seen traders where it's just better for them to sit that out because it doesn't fit their style. And once an opening range has been established, then they're better at sort of navigating the day. I think that 10 o'clock is kind of like a reset. Like I might go back to some ideas or reevaluate things, but I don't mind trading the first half an hour. But there's nothing wrong with just sitting out the first half an hour and then looking at the opening range, giving you an extra layer of advantage of price action that you can try to trade off of. Everyone's going to have their own style. Some people really like lunchtime. Other people do not want to touch lunchtime. Some people only like power hour. Like just there's no right or wrong answer. So shout out to everyone in our chat. It's a big week next week. It's not just NVIDIA. We got Snowflake. We got Kava. We got PCE. We got CRM. We got economic numbers. It's the end of the month as well, so it's going to be a big one. So everyone rest up. Check out the Brett Favre interview tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. We're dropping that, so it'll be a heck of a lot of fun. But shout out to our entire community. It's a crazy day in the markets today. And we're going to do it all again next week, and we'll see you bright and early at 8:30. We're Trader TV Live. Have a good one.
See you.